Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we gather together around the virtual water cooler, talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, a little bit of television, some pop culture stuff, anything that tickles our fancy, if you will. There's a phrase you don't use nearly enough. And joining me today to tickle those fancies is the one and the only Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
I am doing well. My fancy's always tickled, John.
It's true, and you're all are always tickling those fancies. And also joining us today is Erin Cummings is here, ladies and gentlemen. Erin, how you doing? Looking very pro today.
I have an audition where I'm playing a district attorney, so I had to suit up for you this morning. And also, today is the premiere of All Rise, in which I play a detective from the LAPD, so had to dress the part to shout out the part.
And listen, if any of you guys were watching some football yesterday, which of course,
ladies, because
or the ladies, if any of you folks were watching some football yesterday, I know very sadly Robert Meyer Burnett was watching his Seahawks lose. I very triumphantly was watching my Patriots win again. Anyway. An All Rise trailer comes on, and who's on the All Rise trailer giving this speech is our own Erin Cummings was on there. And of course, as Erin just mentioned, guys, her new show, All Rise, debuts tonight on CBS, so make sure you guys gather around and give that thing a watch and watch it. I know I will be doing that. I'm sure many of you guys will be doing that too. All right, listen. We got a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about here today. A lot of things that are our main topics you can see listed in the video description. But a couple things here I want us to talk about off the top. And off the top, we're going to start with this. Now, of course, running that big cha-ching train that Disney is going down the track on at 100 miles per hour is, of course, the little, car called Frozen 2, which is still to come. Wrap your heads around this, everybody. Disney has already broken the all-time box office record for a studio in a single year. It's already broken it. That's in the rearview mirror. And they still have Star Wars Episode 9 to come, and they still have this little billion-dollar film called Frozen 2 that is on its way. Now, the first trailer dropped, and I got to tell you, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I like that first trailer a lot. Now, I'm not a huge Frozen fan or anything, but I thought the first film was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you what, this second trailer, I thought was even better than the first trailer. It gave more context to it. I'm digging the characters and the relationship, and they give it sort of an epic story kind of feel to it, the way they kind of lay out the narration to it. And I got to tell you, one of the lines that I ran back and played about 4 or 5 times this morning before we started the show was that one line in the trailer when she goes, "You can't just follow me into fire," and the sister says in return, "Then don't run into fire." I love that. I got a big kick out of that line. I think this is good. Look, I know the cool thing here is to say, "Oh, Frozen is a little animated things for girls," blah, blah. I get it, but...
Is that the cool thing to say?
Yeah, screw you. I think this looks really good. I do. I think this looks really good. And I'm excited to see it. Rob, you had a chance to see this morning. What did you think about the Frozen 2 trailer?
Well, John, I'm with you. I thought it looked really intriguing. The story looks pretty epic. It looks really interesting. It was really engaging. Obviously, it's a character piece, yet it's an epic fantasy as well. I was surprised at how much I'm like, well, okay, this looks pretty good. I mean, I don't know why I would think it wouldn't look good. I mean, Frozen's one of the biggest. Isn't it the biggest animated?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
No, right, because it's been supplanted.
Yes.
But who doesn't love Frozen? And this, it looks like I hate people that say this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It looks like the Empire Strikes Back of the Frozen franchise, John.
It very well could be. I just thought it looked really I wasn't expecting it to look this good.
Me neither.
Anyway, Erin, you had a chance. Now, you're in the unique position. You didn't see the original Frozen film.
Didn't, no.
So you're just watching this trailer completely cold. No pun intended.
Right.
What did you think about the trailer?
I thought it was fantastic. And going along, with what you're saying about wow, I'm really surprised. I was really interested in this trailer. As I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, if you took out Elsa and her sister and something, if you took them out and you inserted Marvel characters, there's no way that you would not like you would absolutely go, yeah, I feel like this is a Marvel movie. As far as the excitement, the epic scale, the music, like you really see that they're choreographing the emotions and that they want you to be not just invested in the character, but in the characters, all of them, but also really invested in this extremely catastrophic event that goes on, in the kingdom. I mean, I was leaning in. I was like, oh my gosh, something is going on in that kingdom. What's happening? I found myself really drawn in, excited, and it makes me want to go back and watch the first one. And for a trailer for a sequel to make me not only want to watch the sequel, but to go back and watch the original, it speaks volumes. So I'm looking forward to that. It reminds me of when I brought my niece and nephew to see Tangled, and my niece was sitting on my lap, and at a certain point in the cartoon, and I'm not a big cartoon person, I just don't know why I have resistance to them, but I went, and at a certain point in the cartoon, she said, in the film, she said, I want to go. And she started like wiggling around, and I grabbed her and I go, we're not going anywhere. I got to see what happens. And that's what I felt like I will experience in this as well.
Well, as far as sequels go, I'm really hoping this is more like a Toy Story 2 kind of sequel and not so much as a Mary Poppins reboot sequel, because that wasn't good. But anyway, guys, if you guys had a chance to see this Frozen 2 trailer, this new one, what did you think about it? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. Also, just off the top here, we should cover this. We'd be remiss if we didn't. Of course, last night was the Emmys. Now, I admit I'm more of an Oscars guy. I don't generally watch the Emmys, but I do, follow up and read. Fleabag was certainly a big winner last night. Anne's been watching Fleabag recently. She's actually fallen in love with the show. And I saw a couple of the episodes. It does look pretty damn good. It was a big winner in the comedy department as well. But the big winner of the night, as far as the top prize, Best Dramatic Series, it was Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones won Best Series of the Year. They won 12 Emmys this year. The two they took last night was Peter Dinklage won, I think it was his fourth time winning. It's just crazy. He's been so good in this show. And of course, Game of Thrones wins Best Dramatic Series. It takes a top prize as well. Wrap your heads around this, everybody. Game of Thrones, in its run, has won 59 Emmys.
Wow.
In its run. 59! Most shows would kill to get 55 nominations, and its nominations range into the hundreds. It literally is in the hundreds of times it was nominated. It won 59 Emmys, including last night, and won that. Now, look, let me be very, very clear here, because everybody knows I was a big fan of this season of Game of Thrones. I love this season of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones winning the Emmy last night does not mean that if you are somebody who didn't like this season of Game of Thrones, it winning the Emmy for Best Series does not mean you're wrong in not liking it, not in the least. Any more than if it didn't win, or maybe even wasn't even nominated, that wouldn't have meant that I was wrong for loving it at all. But it's just a nice additional little feather in its cap to send it on its way. This has been an iconic, like all-time sort of show. I don't know that any television show ever in history has had, and I'm not just talking about this season in particular, but has had the pop cultural influence that Game of Thrones has had. And I guess last night, just one last time for its big swan song at the Emmys, one last way to go out, and it goes out winning Best Series. Erin, when you look back at, especially as somebody who's involved in television like you are, when you look back over this run that Game of Thrones has had, can you think of any other TV show off the top of your head that maybe equals or surpasses it as far as its overall dominance and the way it's just dominated the pop cultural conversation and influence? And if so, what would those be?
I don't think that surpassing would be the word, but certainly as far as pop culture relevance, I think Friends, which most people wouldn't connect. Yeah. Like my first thought is Sopranos, because I'm just going from, a 1 hour drama, cable sort of situation. But if you think about Friends, look at how many women got the Rachel haircut. Look at how many men use the excuse, we were on a break, or came up to girls and saying, how you doing? There were so many culturally, so many things that pop culture took from the show of Friends during its 10 years that that still are part of our vernacular. So Friends would be one that would definitely jump out to me. One of the things that I love about the photo that you just showed is Gwendolyn Christie, like behind J.R.
You're going to say J.R.R. Tolkien,
I
weren't you?
was, totally. I know. It's like, it trips me up every time. Martin, excuse me.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin.
J.R.R.
Thank you.
Tolkien.
I know. Not that far off as far as genre goes. I love the photo of her as she's back there smiling so brightly, standing right in the center. This woman who said, you know what? I know that you weren't going to submit me for an Emmy, so I'm going to submit myself for an Emmy,
Yep.
and I'm going to get that nomination, which is really weird because every single show that I've been a series regular on, they've submitted me for Emmy consideration. Like, that's what you do. Like, and not like, oh my God, I'm like, that's what you do when you have a cast. You submit everybody for Emmy consideration, and then you let the chips fall where they may. So it's weird to me that she wasn't submitted, because I thought it was just sort of like a thing. You know, I remember a friend of mine was like, oh my God, I was submitted. I was like, calm down. Everyone's submitted. That's the way it goes. So but the fact that she said, you know what? No, I'm going to do this on my own. And then she got the nomination. Yeah. This woman is saying, I know that my moment in the spotlight with this show is a moment in time, and I'm going to capitalize on it. And I say, good for you. And I can't wait to see what she does next. I'm very happy for her nomination, as well as Jarrell Jerome from When They See Us.
Right.
I'm so happy about that.
Rob, you've watched Game of Thrones from the beginning all the way through. I mean, now it gives us an opportunity to kind of reflect back.
I'm a throny.
You're a throny. I mean,
I'm a gamer.
The overall,
it's like being a brony, but different.
But yeah, significantly different. As you look at this thing, though, like, what overall thoughts come to your mind?
Well, look, whether you like the final season of Game of Thrones or not, it's one of the most staggering achievements in the television medium ever. The scope of the show, the ambition of the show, the breadth of, the acting, the talent, the people that coordinating over multiple countries on each season. It stands as a pinnacle of what television is capable of. And the fact that it's a literary adaptation to boot, I think Game of Thrones stands as a shining achievement of what Hollywood and indeed the entertainment industry does best. So kudos to that show. I mean, and my God, how many actors that we'd never seen before have been brought to our attention because of that?
Yeah.
You had people like people that grew up in front of us, Maisie Williams.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
going from that little girl to killing the Night King.
Absolutely. And, Sansa Stark went to, like, your annoying little sister to a girl that you're like, oh, yeah, you're going to marry Jonas Brother. Good for you. Yeah, all right. Showing. But, it's an incredible... And from the beginning, Peter Dinklage's Tyrion Lannister is one of the great characters that's ever been on TV. I mean, he was a complete, utter, irredeemable scumbag. And by the time you get to the Battle of the Blackwater, where he basically saves King's Landing, and no one gives him the time of day, and watching his journey, it was a fantastic experience. So kudos to all involved.
And I drink and I know things will forever be a part of our lexicon at that point. And I do got to say, again, it didn't prove anything, not at all. But as somebody who was a big fan of the final season and loved it, I got a little bit of extra satisfaction watching it win. So anyway, what did you guys think about all that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by simply going on over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you'll see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get on to our first topic of the day. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Razman Realty, who writes, sadly, very early Sunday, we learned that we've lost Erin Eisenberg, who played Nog on Star Trek Deep Space Nine at the far too young age of 50. While the cause of death isn't known yet, he did have 2 kidney transplants in his life. He was so good as Nog. He made the role into one of Trek's best in terms of growth, proving that sometimes it takes a Ferengi to show us the best that humanity can be. Please share your thoughts on this tragic loss. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, again, Erin Eisenberg, the guy who played Nog, the first ever Ferengi in the Federation on Deep Space Nine, passed away. And, I could talk about that as somebody who has seen the show, but, Rob, you were far more familiar with not only his work, But with him, like you knew him,
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the passing of Eisenberg?
Well, first of all, he was a terrific guy. I was lucky that back in the early aughts, I went to Paris with him, and we were guests at one of the first Star Trek convention they ever had in Paris.
Wow.
Which was a little crazy. But him and Max Grudenchik and Mark Altman and I, because we'd made Free Enterprise, and he was just a delightful guy. But what's really interesting, and a father of two, which he left us way too early. He always had a smile on his face. He had health problems his whole life. Never, ever got him down. He was always a lot of fun. The last time I saw him was at Star Trek Las Vegas a couple years back. And he always came up and gave me a big hug. And he's definitely will be missed. But I think the legacy that he has on Deep Space Nine, the Ferengi on Next Generation, they didn't really work. And the characters, not so good. They were
very
never
one-dimensional.
Very
on
one-dimensional.
Next Generation.
They were conceived as the Yankee traders of space. But on Deep Space Nine, obviously, you had Armin Shimmerman, you had Max Grudenchik, and you had Erin Eisenberg playing this core group of Ferengi, and they fleshed out the characters. They fleshed out the Ferengi race. And Erin Eisenberg was, of course, the first, over the course of the series, he was just Jake's buddy. Then he was the first Ferengi to become a member of Starfleet. And by the time you got to the last season of Deep Space Nine, he lost a limb in the Dominion War. There's an incredible episode. I mean, you watch the episodes where he goes toe-to-toe with Avery Brooks when he demands to be sponsored and allowed to go to Starfleet Command. But by the time you get to season 7, there's the siege of AR 558, I think it's 558 or 559, and then the episode It's Only a Paper Moon, where he's dealing with PTSD. And he was an incredible actor. And that role was really the defining role of his life. And for any actor to leave behind the legacy that he left, I mean, he obviously he left us far too early, but his performance of Nog over the 7 seasons of Deep Space Nine is just indelible. And I think anybody who's a Deep Space Nine fan is touched by it's one of the great character arcs in all of Star Trek, to see where he begins and where he winds up. And it's incredible, and I'm sorry he's gone, but we're all the better for the performance of Nog that he brought to 7 seasons of what I think is the finest of the modern Star Trek shows.
Well, I was so glad that you were on the show today to talk about that, because I know you knew him personally, and for me, it's just a very surface thing. That's Deep Space Nine was all I knew him from, but I love the Nog character, and all the Ferengi, whether it's Quark and Quark's brother, Nog's dad, and stuff like that. It was great to see. But anyway, Rob, thank you. I know you post a lot about this on social media.
Yeah, I did go down the rabbit hole, and yesterday I watched. After I did my own show, I probably watched 2 hours of Nog clips on YouTube, and you forget how good of an actor he really was. And remember, he was wearing the fake teeth and the prosthetic giant ears, and for an actor to bring a performance as much as he did through all of that makeup, which is daunting for any actor, but he really did a fine job doing it. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's been interesting seeing online how that's resonated. Aaron, you've worked with people as well, like who have on television shows who have passed away. Obviously, Andy being the big example of that. What does that do? Like, I remember at the time when he passed away, you were still really connected in with the Spartacus fan base around the world. Talk about the feelings you had and what you saw in the fan base and how it affected the fan base when, a character or an actor on one of their favorite shows passes away.
Well, first, I just want to say to Rob, I'm sorry for your loss. I mean, clearly you have had such a connection with him, and just to hear the way that you are speaking about him is so beautiful. And the word that you keep using, and this is true in Andy's case and in the loss of anyone. I mean, I remember when John Ritter died, who I didn't work with, but I remember the great loss that everyone felt, is that word legacy. And it's one of the things that makes this world that we work in, this world that we live in, so special and so unique, is that, when Andy passed, and as I'm sure that Rob and many people are feeling about Erin right now, is there's a sense of loss, not just among the people that person knew personally, but also among all the people who had that person in their homes, that allowed them to feel feelings that they maybe couldn't feel in their daily lives. I got messages, and I still continue to get messages of people who said that they cried when Andy passed because they felt like they had lost a friend.
Right.
And actors, specifically television actors, they're not up on a movie screen far away that are unreachable. They're in your home. You see them every, once a week or sometimes more than once a week, and people feel like they have a personal connection to you. And especially if you have a character that has allowed them to in some way live vicariously, that resonates on an even deeper level. So clearly, the legacy, as Rob said, that Aron has left with not only his friends but also with his fans will be felt for many, many years to come. And I look forward to seeing him memorialized at this year's Emmys.
And it's interesting because as a fan base, from a Star Wars point of view, like I remember going to what Erin was saying, like when we found out Carrie Fisher had passed away, I got emotional. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why the hell am I getting, I never knew Carrie Fisher. I mean, why am I getting emotional? It's because I spent the better part of my childhood hanging out with her in my living room, on my screen in one form or another in the various Star Wars movies. And she was part of me growing up and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who Deep Space Nine was that for them, and to find out that Nog has passed away is it's always an odd thing for us. I remember when Robin Williams died.
I cried when Elizabeth Taylor died. I cried, and I remember I was working on a project, and this young like 20-something-year-old girl walked in, and she said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Elizabeth Taylor died today," and she goes, "Oh my gosh, is that a friend of yours?"
Oh man!
And then I cried even harder for like just young actresses in general. But you do feel a loss, but also at the same time, such incredible gratitude for what they've left us with, and that to me is being immortal. That long after we slough off this mortal coil, as Shakespeare says, our work can still live on and continue to inspire people.
To speak to that, the last episode of Deep Space Nine is actually called "What We Leave Behind," and indeed, that's if you look at that show and how that show really developed, to have that as your legacy is pretty great. I mean, I can't imagine a much better legacy for an actor to be part of. And what was so great about that show, it truly was an ensemble.
It was, yeah.
It was a real ensemble. And as the show moved into its 4th, 5th, 6th, and final 7th season, that ensemble just grew. And it's always been sort of the stepchild of Next Generation. But I think now it's really gotten its due. And the acting, and especially Erin Eisenberg's acting, I mean, he was basically playing a goofy character that is not goofy,
but it evolved.
Of the show, it evolved, and it's just a great example of what the television medium can be.
All right, guys. Well, listen. Do you guys have any fond memories of that and thoughts on the passing of Eisenberg and his role as Nog? Did it affect you? Jump on down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's now move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic today gets brought to us by Elijah Johnson, who writes, "Have you seen the first review of that new Will Smith movie, Gemini Man? The reviews are looking outstanding. They are saying Will Smith's performance combined with the motion capture render technology are completely bananas. It was already a must-see, but if these reviews hold true, do you think this could propel him into Oscar contention? No. Let me know your thoughts and bring on the filthy." All right, thanks a lot for sharing that. And yeah, for those of you who maybe have not heard, the first reactions for Gemini Man have started to come out. Now, look, I have said for a while, I think this movie looks like it could be really good. It's not just some, random action film. Look who's directing it. Look who's starring in it. Look at the rest of the cast. And let's get the idea of the basic story. I think this could be something pretty special. And as it turns out, the first bunch of reviews are coming in, and they're sounding really, really good. I'm just going to read a couple of them off here, but they're all basically reflecting the same kind of tone. Eric Davis wrote, just saw Ang Lee's Gemini Man and it's legit. Old Will Smith versus young Will Smith equals visually visceral experience that's absolutely wild to watch at times. Again, Ang Lee delivers bold, unique action that's on par with the best. See it in 3D for sure, he writes. Max Every writes, Ang Lee's Gemini Man is a huge breakthrough, not only for 120 frames per second presentations, action sequences are breathtaking in the format. Will Smith's winning performance shows the level of scrutiny that a real movie star can stand up to. If you don't see it in theaters, you're missing the experience. And Cohen writes, just saw Gemini Man and it's wild. The young version of Will Smith is incredible, plus some truly beautiful action sequences and a really great performance by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I love her. The only 3D movie I'll ever endorse, which is interesting for me to hear because I don't like 3D. I don't like 3D at all. So hearing people say something like that, that gets me kind of excited. And Jordan, last one I'll read here. Jordan Zarkin writes, just saw the final cut of Ang Lee's Gemini Man, and it's probably the only movie I'd ever say you absolutely must see in 3D and 4K if possible. I've never seen anything like it. It felt like I was inside the movie. So overall, it sounds like Ang Lee has delivered that experience. Now, all the people that are loving it, they're also saying, hey, you know what? The story's okay. The story is not like it's a terrible story with all great visual effects. Story's okay. Not something they're going to win an Academy Award for. But they're just saying this movie overall is an incredible experience, which, you know, again, guys, I mean, I've been saying we shouldn't be surprised by that. You got Ang Lee directing it with one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and I think the trailers have been incredible. So I was totally stoked to see this. I got to tell you, I'm not surprised to hear these first reactions. Now, just because all these first reactions are good, most of the times we hear these great first reactions, the movie ends up being great, but sometimes we've seen great first reactions and then maybe not love the movie so much. That's possible here, but I got a lot of faith in this film. Rob, you're hearing these reactions. Any surprise? And how much faith do you have in this film going into it?
Well, at CinemaCon, you weren't at the Paramount presentation, but Ang Lee came out. They gave out 3D glasses and they showed a section of the film. And they showed it in high frame rate. A lot of people, what high frame rate is, HFR, is normally movies are shot at 24 frames a second. And it's basically 24 still frames that run fast, create persistence of vision and the illusion of movement. A 120 frame film is giving you 120 frames instead of 24 frames. And it gives you, it's a hyper real, hyper clear image. And it's insane when it works. Sometimes people look at it and go, oh, it looks like a soap opera. It looks more like video. The Hobbit movies were done at high frame rate. This was different. I saw this, at least for the clip that they showed, I was like, wow. I mean, that was really impressive. And it was just a short clip. But I can't wait to see this movie. The technology in terms of deep fake technology, the way they've recreated Will Smith's younger face. I watched, there's a great video about how they did it online you can watch. Again, Ang Lee has always pushed Life of Pi. I mean, Billy Pilgrim's Halftime Walk. It was Billy Pilgrim's the character from Slaughterhouse-Five, but who's it's Billy.
Yeah, I remember Long Halftime Walk.
Yeah, Long Halftime Walk. That was done in HFR too, but I don't know. This was something different, and this was, somebody said bananas in what you wrote. It's bananas, and I can't wait to see this film. I can't wait to see it in 3D. I can't wait to see it in high frame rate because, along with James Cameron, Ang Lee is really trying to push the medium of cinema in terms of technology. And, you know, these two guys are out at the forefront of, and I can't wait. I'd love to see somebody do a horror movie in HFR. Really go for it.
I got to see this one first to kind of solidify an opinion about that. But I know I'm excited to see this. I'm not sorry. Erin, where are your expectations at right now? And what's your reactions when you're hearing these sorts of reactions coming out of the movie?
Well, first of all, I'm shocked about all of the kudos for the 3D aspect of it, because I'm with you, John. I don't usually, I always want to enjoy a 3D experience because I want to feel like I'm really in it, but then when I get there, I'm so often terribly disappointed. And if you're not right in the center at the perfect seat and you're kind of off to the side, it just kind of feels weird. So I'm glad that so many people are enjoying the 3D experience. That makes me much more interested in experiencing that. And Rob, I do have a question about this HRF you said?
HFR.
HFR, thank you. how many frames per second do we see when we're watching, say, a football game? Because that's what I don't connect it to a soap opera. I connect it to, like, when you're watching a football game, it looks hyper real. Is that the same thing, or is it?
Yeah, it can't. It's not nearly. It's not that, but it depends on how many frames. Sometimes you're looking at 24 frames. A lot of times it's 30 frames, or now 60 frames.
Yeah, it becomes kind of
and it really depends. So this would be twice that. Now I would say, like what you said, Aaron. Part of the problem with 3D is a lot of the theaters are not optimized. They're not bright enough. They're not optimized to present 3D the way it should be presented. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, most movies that we see today are not shot in 3D.
Oh,
they're converted later.
Oh, okay.
And when you're shooting something in 3D with these kinds of cameras, and it's designed to maximize, there hasn't been a movie since Avatar that has been designed to be experienced in 3D the way this movie is. I think maybe that's not Life of Pi too, his other Ang Lee movie, but I think that's part of it. And I'd go see this in HFR IMAX. I think that would be the way to see it, because IMAX theater with laser projection are bright enough that I don't think you will be disappointed.
I'm really excited about watching that video that you mentioned of the making of, especially with the deepfake, because I am very concerned about the deepfake. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. And this is obviously an instance where we're like, oh, that's super cool. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, how far can we go with this? Because if all of a sudden we can deepfake Scarlett Johansson and she doesn't really feel like the movie, but she approves the script and she can't necessarily do it because she's got a conflict, and they can just license her likeness and pay her, a fraction of what she would get paid if she was physically doing it herself, why would anybody hire me?
Right. Well,
that's
now we're getting into a whole nother topic altogether.
Right, sorry, totally different topic, but I'm very excited to see this movie. And as far as Will Smith and his and his potential to win an Oscar, of course he wants to win an Oscar. Every role that he's doing from here on out for the rest of his career is a role that he thinks this might win me, or at least get me nominated for an Oscar.
Other than maybe Bad Boys 3. I don't think he has delusions
you don't think
of grandeur.
he's got a chance in that?
But I should say, remember, I should have said deep fake technology, because they were using motion capture and he was acting both roles. So he was playing his younger self, but they did motion capture and they were able to, the effects are astonishing, but he still had to act. Like, they can't replace actors yet. Yeah. And I still think that there is that human element that it would be so hard for even the best AI to put the twinkle in an eye of an actor.
Until every actor of a certain level starts going in and having every single facial movement
But again,
recorded.
we're getting off
totally
topic.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, sorry. Rob, stop trying to put me. Yes,
listen.
I'm excited about the movie, and I'm excited for Will Smith there.
All right, guys, question is, where has your excitement been for Gemini Man at this point? And do hearing these reactions, are you surprised of them? Does it change where your excitement level is? I know I'm dying to see this movie. What do you think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us from one of our Patreon supporters, Angry Irish Benjamin. And first of all, Angry Irish, thanks for being a Patreon supporter. John, as I write this, the word is Downton Abbey will walk away with a massive opening of $31 million, cleaning the clocks of Ad Astra and Rambo Last Blood. I never paid this show much mind, but apparently it's become a minor worldwide sensation. How about that? Okay, thanks a lot for sending that in, Angry Irish. And yeah, so last week or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about this weekend, and we talked about what do we see, winning the weekend. And I think across the board, we said probably Rambo with Ad Astra right there. But hey, don't be surprised if Downton makes a nice little showing for itself, coming up in third place, all that kind of stuff. Then last week, something else happened where we were like, is Downton going to do better than we think? And I'll tell you what, I went to go see Downton Abbey on Friday night. The reason I didn't go Thursday is because Ann and Corey couldn't go till Friday, so had to go on Friday. Now, normally in movie theaters, it's normally either for Star Wars movies, a big Marvel movie, or a big DC movie that, when the movie starts, the audience goes, yeah, you get an ovation in the audience, right, as the movie's starting. That happened in Downton Abbey. I was in that theater, and first of all, I was shocked how many people were dressed up. Like I knew there might be one or two. There was a bunch of people dressed up, and as those first piano notes, bum 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 bum, the audience was like, "Ah!" I'm like, what is going on? And Anne's already crying. She's like this, and the movie hasn't even started yet. I'm like, okay. And you know what? It is a charming little movie. This is a charming little movie. Now, I've told you guys before, the thing about one of the remarkable things about Downton Abbey was that, because I watched a bunch of the episodes with Anne before, is that it's never like, we need to save the life of the king. No. It's like, what silverware do we serve with dinner tonight? That's the big topic. And they somehow make that riveting and important. And I kid you not trying to give away any spoilers for this movie, but one of the big conflicts and one of the big hurdles they got to overcome in this movie is the hot water boiler isn't working. There's no hot water in the place. What are we going to do? And then, of course, the big thing is, who gets to serve dinner tonight? No, I'm not kidding. The big thrust of who gets to serve dinner tonight is, and they make it riveting and important. Anyway, this movie came out and not just did well for itself. You're not kidding. It kicked Rambo's ass. It kicked Ad Astra's ass. It beat Rambo and Ad Astra by 50% of their box office thing. Let's take a second here and take a look at this. So here's how the weekend actually ended up shaking out. Downton Abbey comes in first place, destroying Ad Astra and Last Blood by, like I said, 50% of Ad Astra and Last Blood's overall box office, just utterly annihilating them. And it comes in at $31 million, which they've got to be thrilled with. Ad Astra came by smallest of margins in second place at 19.2. I did not like Ad Astra. I wanted to. I was excited for it. I thought it was one of the most dull, boring films I've ever seen. Rambo Last Blood, which I did get a big kick out of near the end especially, also made $19 million. It Chapter 2 continues rolling on with $17.2 million. And Hustler's still hanging in there, making $17 million. But again, here the story is Downton Abbey didn't just eke it out, it throttled Ad Astra and Rambo. And so it brings up the question, where did we get this wrong? Like, I mean, we all thought it could do pretty well. It's got a following and all that kind of stuff, but it just came out. So clearly we have underestimated just how big the following of Downton Abbey is. We have clearly underestimated how passionate that following is for something like this. And then I went downstairs. I don't know if I can, I'm not even going to bother trying to bring up, maybe I will see if I possibly can bring this up. But like yesterday, the doorbell rings. Yeah, I can get it. Here it is. Yesterday, the doorbell rings. And I go to answer the door, and it's an Amazon delivery guy, and it's a package for Anne. And is anybody surprised that this is what was inside? And immediately we came out of watching Downton Abbey.
Oh my God.
Anne loves Clue. She's got like 15,
5 different,
She's got like 15
Golden
different
Girls
versions
Clue.
of this. Oh yeah, she's got it all. Of course, she immediately went and ordered Downton Abbey Clue. So, I mean, there you go. But I mean, we have clearly underestimated some stuff here. And this thing is a global force. This thing's it's already blown way past its production budget on its first weekend. So again, this isn't a Star Wars movie or Marvel film that's going to make, $500 million worldwide or anything like that. But this is a little English show about some people who live in a house and their daily lives. I mean, Rob, what do you write all this up to when you look at this?
Bruh. This show is like Star Wars or Endgame for hopeless romantics. And you know what that means? Every woman in the world. And dudes too. I mean, people love Downton Abbey. It's about you know what? I have a secret suspicion. Maybe not so secret now because I'm saying it on the show. There is a large contingent of the population that wishes we lived in that era again.
Oh, for
I
sure.
certainly do. I mean, I would love to wear 3-piece suits every day and have beautiful, bespoke, tailored costumes and go out every day and have a very mannered dinner and Emily Post manners everywhere and people talking. It's like I watch Remains of the Day and it kills me. And this is kind of like Remains of the Day, but it's a Remains of the Day series. And I didn't underestimate this. I was telling you this is going to be big, and it costs not a whole lot.
I think about 20 million tops.
Single location, and that was probably half that was for Maggie Smith to get her to come back and play the Dowager Countess, right?
Who, by the way, Maggie Smith is awesome
Yeah,
in this
because-
movie.
Always.
She's
I mean,
great in this movie.
in everything. Always.
England is just a town. England is a country where the acting tradition all the way back. I mean, that's what the Globe Theatre was. So
And the new Globe Theatre is.
yeah, the new Globe Theatre is, and you've got this contingent of actors, and Downton Abbey is. They should make a Downton Abbey movie every year. They'd make a fortune. They're still making fortunes. Just have everybody come back because people will go. It's like the baseball diamond in Field of Dreams.
Aaron, when I look at this, the first thing that comes to my mind is that there are a couple of shows that are lifestyle porn in the sense that we watch them because we want to live that life vicariously through the people on there. A couple of the things that come to mind for me. Number one was Entourage. That was the first show that really stood out to me as being one of those. We watch the show because we want to live that life with these guys. Sons of Anarchy was one of those for me. I think a lot of men in particular always wish they had kind of like a brotherhood like that they could be a part of.
Criminal
Sex and the
biker
City.
gang?
Yeah.
Sex and the City.
Sex and the City was
Sex
a
and the
big
City was
one.
was huge for women on that level.
I mean, Gossip Girl, even.
Yes.
That was the draw for a lot of young
think
women.
this is another one.
And people were like, I don't understand. This show is terrible. But it allowed people, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. The reason people watch that show is because they want to live vicariously. Here's the thing that I always laugh at, though, when people, and Robin, poke fun at you for a minute. When people say, oh my God, because Tom is the same with Game of Thrones. I would have loved to live at that time. And I want to tell him, Tom, you would not have been Jon Snow. I hate to break it to you, but if you're not super
I would have been
wealthy.
Sam.
If you're not super wealthy and powerful in this life, why do you think that you would have been the person sitting at the table with the bespoke in that life? Because I love to think that I would have been Maggie Smith had I lived at that time. But the reality is that I would have been in the back, cleaning the toilets and
Right.
making
Mrs.
butter.
Farnsworth or whoever the
I
cook
would
lady
not
is,
have
yeah.
been living the high life had I been living back then. Just like I'm not really living the high life, except on occasion when I have friends that are living high life. It's always so funny that when we think about if I lived back then, I would be this. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't
Plus,
be.
no one had showers.
Yeah.
Everybody
God. Yeah,
stunk.
when Tom says I would love to live in the time of Game of Thrones, I'm like, do you have any idea how badly those people stink?
No Star Wars, no internet. Yeah.
No,
I don't
I'm
know
not
that I
interested
would
in
have liked
that.
that.
But I did read an article in the Hollywood Reporter this morning that was saying that overwhelmingly, the age of the Downton Abbey moviegoer this weekend was 55 and up. So clearly, that is saying that the baby boomer market is starved for material, and they're willing to pay all of that discretionary income that they're getting from their Social Security checks and their rent on their third and fourth house that they're renting out. They're willing to spend that money at the movie theater. So this is another untapped market that maybe Hollywood is going to start paying attention to. Oh, wow, if we start making more movies that are tapping into that 55 and up boomer market, we might be able to have one of these $31 million openings more regularly.
And make no mistake about, though, there was, that fact notwithstanding, there was a lot of younger people at
Sure.
that Downton Abbey thing. I was really surprised how many younger people were there too. It
What was
crazy.
your costume? Because I know that Anne was able to twist your arm into dressing up.
Not a
I know
thing.
she was.
Nope, not a thing.
Pictures or I don't believe you.
No, and I got it. I've got video. I've got video of us coming out of the theater. And even Anne and Corey toned it down a lot. Anne wore a who's the one that Meghan what's the royal wedding? Meghan and she married which prince?
Oh, Harry.
Harry. She wore a Harry and Meghan prince shirt, but
Nice.
her and Corey wore their tea time hats, their big giant tea time hats. So that was kind of good. Question is for you guys. What do you make of this? Downton Abbey coming out of nowhere, spanking Rambo and Ad Astra. What do you think about it? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets sent in to us from Gary Timmis, who writes, "Hey, John. I think most people are looking at Avatar as the upcoming movies with the biggest potential to break Endgame's all-time record. Did you see the recent James Cameron interview where he basically said that is their goal, to break the record of Endgame? Do you think that they can actually do it?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Gary. And look, records are fun to talk about. And the moment that Endgame won the record for all-time box office. Took 10 years for it. Only took Marvel 22 tries, but they did it. They broke the record. But it seems a record that stood for nearly a decade, and it feels like everybody let them just celebrate that record for like 2 seconds, because immediately, as soon as the record was broken, everybody's talking about, and I get why, but everybody's talking about what's going to break it. It's like this thing just broke a record that stood for nearly a decade. Can't we just bask in that for a little bit? But obviously and understandably, it turns to the question about, okay, then now what's going to beat that next? And some people think Star Wars Episode 9. I don't think it's going to come close. So beyond that, people start thinking, well, Avatar was the last one that did it. Maybe it can do it again. That's certainly the thing. And you know what? James Cameron, that's not lost on him. Now, I believe it was with Entertainment Weekly, but basically Cameron said the following in an interview. He was basically asked, can Avatar 2 beat this new record? James Cameron said the following: will Avatar 2 and 3 be able to create that kind of success in the zeitgeist? Who knows? But we're trying. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But the point is, it's still possible. And I'm happy to see it. So James Cameron answered a question. Now, I want this to be very, very clear. It's not like James Cameron just hopped on Twitter and said, I think we can beat Endgame, and just threw that out there in the ether without any context whatsoever. He was doing an interview about something. He got asked a question directly, and he answered it. Should he have said that? Well, I'll tell you what. I like his answer. I honestly think his answer was pretty much damn perfect. Because, look, I don't want him to be falsely modest. I don't want him to come out and say, oh, heavens, no, we can't possibly. Let's be clear here. In the grand scheme of things, Endgame beat Avatar by about that much. When you look at the overall numbers of both of them, beat them by that much. Avatar, without a 22 film buildup, it was able to do it. Maybe he thinks he can do it again. You got to think that your films can have that kind of success. It's like a coach at the beginning of an NFL season. You ask Pete Carroll, can you guys, the Seattle Seahawks, win the Super Bowl this year? Damn right he better say, yes, I think we can win the Super Bowl this year. He's not coming out and saying, I guarantee we're going to win the Super Bowl this year, but he's got to say, I believe we have a chance. And he's got to say, I think we can do it. I think we've got the pieces. And James Cameron's saying that, but he comes well short. Because I'm seeing some people online saying, did you see James Cameron saying they're going to beat Endgame with Avatar 2? No. He didn't say that. He, as a matter of fact, he said, hey, maybe we do, maybe we don't, but it's possible, and we can, and yeah, we're aiming for that. He ain't aiming low. He's not aiming low for a break-even movie. He's aiming high. He is aiming for something in the neighborhood of an Endgame. They're trying. So, Rob, that's why when I look at his statement, number one, it had confidence. It's like, yeah, I think we can. But number two, it wasn't trying to make an issue. I said, hey, look, maybe we do, maybe we don't. And by the way, let's be very, very clear here, guys. Avatar 2 does not need to make $2.9 billion to be a huge success. Avatar 2 comes out and makes $1.1 billion. Guess what? That's one of the highest grossing films of all time. It's a huge success. Everybody's buying new yachts. It's a huge success if it makes $1 billion. One. It doesn't need, Avatar 2 does not need to break this record at all. It doesn't need it. But could it? It could. I personally don't think it will, though. Rob, you're hearing James Cameron's comments here. What do you make of them?
Well, first of all, I've never understood all the question about money and box office. I get it if you work for the company that's making the movies. But if you don't, as a viewer, all you should care about is if the movie is good or not. I mean, James Cameron has provided amazing cinematic visions, beginning, with Terminator, low-budget movie that kicked everyone's ass when it first came out. Then he makes Aliens, a sequel to one of the greatest science fiction horror films ever made, and it kicked our asses. Then he makes The Abyss, and the pseudopod sequence pushes the limits of technology, which led him to make Terminator 2, where you create the T-1000, the liquid metal, the transform... Amazing. Then he goes on and he makes your favorite action film, True Lies, which he goes back and does his Bond version of a comedic James Bond movie, which is awesome. And then he goes and makes Titanic when everyone says, this is never going to work, it's never going to make any money. Becomes the #1 film of all time. And then he makes, 10 years later, Avatar, blows all of our minds. Now everyone's like, Avatar has no pop culture footprint. And now he's making Avatar 2 and people are like, what's not going to make as much money as Endgame? James Cameron's gonna kick ass. Who cares how much money this movie makes? What matters to me is to see James Cameron coming back to the screens, putting out something we've never seen before, and blowing our minds. Whether it makes money or not, I don't care. I just want to see James Cameron once again just tickling. What did you say at the beginning of this show?
Tickling our fancies.
Tickling my fancy. That's what I want. He's done it since 1984. I know he's going to do it again, and I don't care how much this movie makes.
It's amazing when I think a lot of people forget. Like people think today James Cameron, and understandably so, they think Avatar, sure, and they think Titanic. We forget that this guy has been doing nothing but bashing in our heads with amazing film after amazing film after amazing film for a long, long time. Now, I'll tell you what, I do get why people care about how much money he makes. Because we've had this conversation before.
I know. It's show friends, it's show business.
But no, it's not just that. It's like it's an indicator of what is out there right now that is catching people's attention. What is motivating people to want to go out to the theaters? And that all, again, speaks to what you were saying exactly, Rob, about the fact that he again and again and again and again, all he does is he squats over and craps out gold. That's what he does. But I don't know, Aaron, you have a chance to hear him making comments like this. And where do you think this is all? Do you think it has a chance? Do you like that he's making these comments? Do you don't? What do you think about this whole thing?
Well, I'm with you. I think that people that are saying James Cameron said blah, blah, they are reading way too much into it. I mean, clearly if someone says, do you think that your movie can beat Endgame? I mean, to reiterate what you said, it would be kind of bizarre if he said, no, I don't think so. That immediately is going to make people go, oh, James, then the narrative would be James Cameron thinks something's wrong with his movies and
Yes,
he doesn't stand behind them.
Great point. Yes.
So he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't. So damn it, he should, and he did. And I really like the fact that, I mean, but also what I love about James Cameron as a filmmaker, and Rob, thank you so much for listing all of those things, because it is, you do forget, oh yeah, and he did do The Abyss, oh yeah, he did. This guy, even after Titanic, remember he then went and did the whole documentary about, going in, like, this guy loves making movies. He's really interested. He's fascinated and he loves to learn. And I love people who, in general, whether you're a filmmaker, a writer, or whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you do. If you are someone who loves to learn and you constantly want to know more and more and more about whatever it is that you already know, you are someone that is going to be an effective storyteller, because you're not just going to go surface on anything. So as far as James Cameron has already pushed as regarding technology in filmmaking, he's pushing further and further and deeper in ways that we can't even fathom right now. And fortunately, he's at a place in his career where not only can he afford the best that there is, but his name can draw in the best that there is. So whether or not it surpasses it, blah, blah, records are all made to be broken. No matter what record there is, someone's always going to break it. The fact that we have someone like James Cameron who's so invested in learning more, not just for himself, but for everyone that his films touches, I think that we are lucky for that. So who cares? I'm with Rob. Who cares if the box office does better? We're going to get some incredible films that are going to revolutionize the filmmaking industry from Avatar 2 and 3, just like we did from the first one.
It's something too. I think it bears repeating. And I don't think this undermines Endgame's accomplishment whatsoever, not at all. But we forget about, what James Cameron has done. He comes out. He didn't need to make 21 Titanic movies that culminated in Titanic 22 and then break the all-time box. He came out Titanic, original film, off the top, boom, all-time #1 box office film. The very next film he makes, which took a long time, the very next feature film he makes wasn't a sequel, didn't have to do 21 Avatar films first. The very next one he makes, totally different subject matter, totally different story, comes out, boom, it becomes the #1 all-time film of all time. We cannot forget, this is the guy who did Terminator and True Lies and The Abyss and on and on and on. This dude is simply one of the best. And for whatever reason, Marvel fans have decided to make him a public enemy. Now, I will say this. He has, in the last year or so, he has sometimes made some comments that were pretty stupid. He has. There's no getting around that. He has. I think he's realized he has. He's corrected him. That was a great, Rob, you and I both love that message he sent out when Endgame took over the record. And then did you see the Russo brothers' response?
Yeah.
That was equally classy and great. And I like what you said, man. I'm just excited to see what he's going to do next. I don't think Avatar has any chance of breaking the new record, just to be on record about that.
What is the record?
2.89 or 2.9, something like that.
That's a record.
Ridiculous.
Plus, I mean, let's face it, Avatar, it was a decade ago, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is something that has been playing for the last decade. You've got kids that were born, and grew up.
It's weird to think about those terms.
They grew up with the Marvel movies, and Avatar is old, even though it's only 10 years old. I mean, if you weren't there. People look at Avatar now, and there's all these op-ed pieces in the geekosphere. People talk about how Avatar has no cultural footprint. And I mean, Avatar is poo-pooed. But people forget. Like, I took my 70-year-old mom to the theater. She'd never seen an IMAX 3D movie before. And my mom is a pragmatist. She has no imagination. She has no imagination at all. She's like, she's the kind of woman that if you didn't clean your room that day, and she would bother her the whole day. I looked at my mother when she saw Avatar. I took her to an IMAX 3D showing in Palm Springs. Her eyes were as big as saucers. She looked at me with this sense of awe and wonder that she'd never experienced before. And she just said, how did they do that? And that's what Avatar did for the world. And people forget. People forget what it was like. And James Cameron's going to do the same thing again. And everyone's going to poo-poo him until they go to the theater. Yep. And then they're going to be like, wow, that's amazing. We didn't know we had it in him.
It wasn't just the technology. It wasn't just the visuals. Like, there were people coming out of Avatar saying, I want the world we live in to be based on the principles of Pandora, whatever it's called. I mean, people were taken with it.
Iowa.
Yes. Guys, I put the question to you. That we're going to make that the topic of today's question of the day. And I simply want to ask you, understanding James Cameron's comments, do you think that Avatar 2 has any sort of a chance of breaking the all-time box office record? It's a long ways off for sure, but let's just speculate long-term. As of right now, I'll be honest with you, more of you guys are saying yes than I thought, because I just put this up just before the show started, and I asked you guys, since he has number 2, number 3 all-time records, can Avatar 2 beat Endgame's box office record? Over 10% of you guys are saying it can, which I'll be honest with you, that's higher than I thought. So 11% of you right now are saying yes, it will beat Endgame's. 89% of you right now are saying no, won't. A little over 1,800 of you guys have voted so far. I'm going to leave that poll up for the rest of the day. Going over and register your vote as well. And I just think it's a really interesting conversation, which is, I'm sure, we're going to talk about more over the next coming years before Avatar 2 comes out sometime in 2041. All right, with that all down and out of the way, guys, let's now move on to our fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets sent in to us from Edward Morris, who writes, "Hello, John. Big fan. I was looking for news on Stranger Things Season 4, and I realized something. It still hasn't been renewed for said fourth season. Should we be worried about this? Just wanted to know your thoughts." All right, thanks a lot for the question, Edward. And I will tell you what, Edward, when I first got that question, I thought, because it quite often happens, somebody will send in a question about something, I'm like, oh, that person clearly didn't know that this is already the case and blah, blah, blah. So I thought, well, no, they've talked a lot about Stranger Things Season 4. I'm sure that's been greenlit already. Nope. Not officially. It has not been greenlit. And I'll tell you what, it raises an interesting question, because for all of those of you right now who are at home screaming at your cell phone or at your computer monitor or your television at me right now, understand this. Under normal circumstances, if Stranger Things were a CBS show, if it were a Fox show, if it were an NBC show, if it were a CW show, if it were any of these things, this is the most successful original you ever did, particularly season 3. It was the most successful original season they had ever done. It is a no-brainer. It's an automatic. Take it to the bank. They're doing it. However, and I'm not saying they're not, but keep this in mind. This is Netflix. This is net cancel after season 3 flicks. That's what we've got. We got Netflix that canceled Daredevil after season 3. That canceled. I mean, look, we've talked a lot over the past 6 months, Rob, about all these popular shows that suddenly got axed and got axed and got ads. They've been gone on record to say they've got kind of a philosophy right now that after a few seasons, cut it before the show gets too expensive and blah, 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 blah. So this is not a crazy question for somebody to ask. It's not crazy. If it was anybody other than Netflix that this show aired on, I would say, no, it's ridiculous to even question it. But as of right now, it's not officially been greenlit. Now, I'll be clear. I believe that Netflix, that Stranger Things season 4 is going to happen. I believe it is going to happen. But keep this in mind too. You got Wolfgang, what's his face?
Finn Wolfhard.
Finn Wolfhard. Wolfgang, what's his Finn Wolfhard, who's appearing in every other movie that appears in theaters these days. You've got Godzilla Girl Wannabe, whatever her name is. 6 of 9, I just call her. So you got her. She's getting busier and busier and busier as well. This is a show that is Netflix's nightmare. It's a show that's going to get more and more and more and more expensive for them to do. I believe it is still going to happen, though. But you are not crazy at all for thinking there is a possibility that does exist that season 4 doesn't happen. I think it will, but it ain't crazy to think that maybe it won't because, again, we're talking about Netflix. Rob, you and I have talked a lot about that, and you've always had some really good insight on this. Are we going to get a Stranger Things season 4?
Look, I'm with you. I think it's probably going to happen, but look, Netflix is not growing subscribers the way they thought. They are hugely leveraged in terms of how much money they're spending. They're about to embark. They're going to war, and make no mistake. As far as Netflix can go to war, they're going to go to war. They're going to war with Disney Plus next month. The streaming
Apple TV Plus,
Apple TV
NBC
is launching. I mean, they are going to war.
Peacock.
Peacock. Peacock.
And I'll tell you something. The like you said, all of the people involved with Stranger Things, if they didn't have anything else going, Millie Bobby Brown is producing a movie that she came up with a story for. Yeah. And I think it was her and her sister or something. It sounded pretty good. So these people, they've done Stranger Things. And unless someone's going to back up that Brinks truck to all of them, the Duffer Brothers and everybody, it's going to cost them, I'll bet you, it would cost twice as much to do season 4 of Stranger Things. And the question remains, is that valuable for Netflix or not? And their economic model is very different than, like you pointed out, the network model. And it's a lot more expensive because you don't get residuals when you make a Netflix show. It's a buyout, and now there's everybody. Stranger Things was a launching pad for all these people. What's the incentive to do Stranger Things 4 when you're Millie Bobby Brown and you're the breakout star of that show, her and Finn Wolfhard, and you're producing movies now? Why would you come back and do Stranger Things?
David Harbour's doing a Black Widow movie.
Yeah, I mean, all these characters are like, yeah, Stranger Things is great. We did 3 seasons. And as far as Netflix is concerned, how does it benefit them to have a 4th season? By the way, can I just give a shameless plug? Unbelievable is an unbelievable series on Netflix.
People on the viewers have been pimping that show like crazy. I gotta check that out.
It's about 2
it's amazing.
Female cops going after a serial rapist. It's based on a true story. Now, definitely it's going to be soon discovered as being an anti-man show, and I can't wait for all the fanboys to scream what it is. It is a tremendous show. It's a tremendous show. It's an amazing thing, and Netflix. I mean, I would watch. I said it's Mindhunter meets Cagney and Lacey. I would wish they would do an ongoing series, but it's based on true stories.
Let's getting back onto Stranger Things, which is our topic. Which is our topic at hand here.
They're not going to do it unless there's a lot of money involved. And don't be surprised if like John, I believe it's going to happen. But if it doesn't, don't be surprised.
Don't fall out of your chair, Aaron. You're seeing this, understanding the track record that Netflix has right now, the way they do things. But this is a huge, very popular show and very popular. What are the chances, do you think, that maybe this doesn't happen, that maybe there isn't a Stranger Things season 4?
I definitely think there's a chance, but only because of the clusterfuck that is going on within Netflix right now. Nothing to do with actor salaries, because let's be clear, those actors are on contract. Those actors, when they tested for the pilot 3 seasons ago, they signed 7-year contracts. That's just the way it is. Very rarely, if you have negotiating power, you can get away with signing a 1-year contract, which maybe David Harbour did, maybe Winona Ryder did, but those kids, absolutely not. They signed 7-year contracts, I guarantee you. Now, maybe after season 2, they were able to renegotiate their contracts, but you're not going to be able to renegotiate your contract every single year. So I'm glad that they're doing all these other movies and they're doing this and they're doing that, but if Stranger Things decides to come back for a season 4, that's in first position contractually. So Netflix would then, I guarantee you, all of these movies and projects that all these kids are doing and David Harbour's doing, they're going to Netflix and going, hey, I have this project and these are the dates. Are you guys cool with that? And the reason why I think that Netflix has not yet greenlit season 4 is because where do you go from season 3? It was so big and had so much going on and was very, very expensive. And I think that because every single season has just gotten better than the season before, they got to make sure that they can continue that track record of success. And I'm pretty sure that they probably want to go, okay, what's the script? What's the story? Let's make sure that we have something that is going to be even better and bigger than it was last season before we go ahead and announce it to the world. So I think that there is going to be a season 4. I really do. I don't think that the other side projects of all the kids are going to be a factor in it. I think it's going to be more about whether or not Netflix can come up with the money to make it bigger and better than it was last season and the seasons before. Well, and I really want to find out what happened to Harbour.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the thing that everybody's still kind of holding on to.
Is he in Russia?
Question is, guys, what do you think about this? I mean, it hasn't been made official yet. I mean, all of us here think it's going to happen, but I do think it's a real possibility that it doesn't. Where do you sit on that right now? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all of that stuff out of the way, we're now going to go move on to our live questions. But before we do, of course, we're going to take a little bit of a break here, stretch our legs, rest the vocal cords, refill our drinks. So we're going to be back here in just 3.5 minutes. Hang tight, guys, and we will be right back. are back. Thank you guys for your patience as we took a second there to take a little bit of a break. Now let's dive in and start getting to your questions and comments you guys have sent in live. And we're going to get things started here with Cinema Survey Movie Reviews, who writes, Marvel, what if Peggy Carter was Captain America? John, then Peggy Carter is Captain America. Yes, of course, but they go a little more deep into it. By the way, at D23, they showed us a neat preview of the upcoming Marvel What If series. And I got to say, it looks better than I thought it would. And the fact that they're pretty much bringing all the voice cast back for it as well, is it looks pretty interesting. I'm not going to say all the stuff that I saw, but it does look pretty interesting. Keep your eyes open for it. All right, Nosferatu writes, do you know any friends who can do a Gollum impersonation? I can name a few. Sam Witwer does a pretty damn good Gollum imitation. I otherwise no. I mean, everybody does a Gollum imitation, but a good one, no. Either you guys have anybody that can nail one of those?
I can do a Gollum Texas impression.
My precious.
A Gollum Texas impression.
A Texan Gollum.
Wow.
Then I can do an Italian one. My precious. I can do it too. All right.
If you put an accent on it, it's just like anybody can do a Gollum impression.
Ben Rayner writes, John, I saw Ad Napstra. Yep, good. I saw Ad Napstra. So boring. Some good stuff. Didn't like it. Just waiting for Joker now and El Camino, The Rise of Skywalker. Hope all is good. And by the way, guys, should mention, Joker tickets now available. Joker tickets now on sale. So if you've been waiting to get your Joker tickets, now's the time for you to go and get them. Yeah, again, here's the thing for me, guys. You guys know I was looking forward to Ad Astra. Mm-hmm. It's weird because it's got high stakes. It asks deep philosophical questions on a universal level and on a personal level, and has all of that, but is unforgivably boring. It is so dry and so dull and lacks any pace. And the only action sequence that they have in the movie, which is the buggy, which we see in the trailer, the buggies on the moon scene, I am convinced they put that in reshoots because it had no bearing on the story. It's like, what we need is action scene. Well, there's a scene where they're going to their spaceship. Throw in an action scene. Okay. And it had no repercussions on the movie whatsoever.
John, you're actually correct about that.
I am.
And there's an article coming out in the Hollywood Reporter about the problems that had in post-production and how James Gray was not allowed. He was pushed out of the edit bay. Ooh, and Dan Bradley, the second unit director, came in and directed that scene. But apparently it's this week, sometime in the Hollywood Reporter, there's an expose about the post-production issues of Ad Astra.
Now, John, given your recent tweet about this topic, would you have enjoyed the film more if Brad Pitt were shirtless the entire time?
At least would have been more things to talk about. I mean, Did you see it in IMAX? Because that was the real... I don't even know what it's about. I'm like, okay, Spaceman, whatever. But I wanted to see it in IMAX just for the simple beauty of it. It is a
beautiful worth it for that
looking film, but I don't...
But after 15 minutes, you're like, okay, I got it.
It's just that, here's the thing. Brad Pitt, and I've said, I don't want to go on this too long because we have other questions waiting, but Brad Pitt, literally every line, and this is the way the character is written, so this isn't on Brad Pitt, but every line is talked like this, and it's mostly internal dialogue. My resting heart rate is this. Submitting for psych evaluation. I don't know how to interact with people. And like everything, like there's, we were talking about dynamic range before, as far as picture quality, there's dynamic range. It means how deep are your blacks, how bright are the whites, and all that kind of stuff. That's your dynamic range. I felt like the movie itself had no dynamic range. It was this the whole time through, and then they threw in a space buggy scene. And again, ask deep questions, philosophical questions. It's just unbearable to watch. Anyway, that was me, unfortunately. Okay, let's see. Willow Yang writes, not including Homelander and Maeve, which of the remaining 7 do you think will have the largest fan base if the Supes existed in our world? Ooh, that's a fun question. You know what? I could totally see why. What was the speedster's name again? I forget the name of the speedster.
Here, I'll look him up.
Him. I mean, he's charismatic. He's flashy. He's colorful. He's got a super speed and all that kind of stuff. A-Train. I just remembered off the top of my head. A-Train. I think A-Train would be the most popular of the 7. Obviously, their Batman character,
Black Noir.
Black Noir.
The samurai.
Who's basically their Batman character. I think he could be, but I think A-Train would be the most popular.
I think you're really discounting the evangelicals among us because Starlight.
Dude,
Starlight. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Starlight,
I'm Team Starlight.
She's
Come on, man.
So the Christians and the creepy older dudes.
would all be into Starlight.
What? I'm a creepy older dude now.
When you say it like that, I'm on Team Starlight. Yeah,
Man, I've been making girls' eyes light up for a long time.
Oh,
creepy.
there's your new
Hashtag
tease.
creepy
I've been
older
making girls'
dude.
eyes
Creepy
light up.
older dude.
All right, Amir B writes, some men just want to watch the world burn. One of the great lines from The Dark Knight. I love that line. Nick Unger writes, you need to check out Unbelievable on Netflix with Toni Collette, Caitlin Denver from Booksmart. I'm 3 episodes in and completely hooked. That's what got me. As soon as I had never even heard of it when one or two of our viewers first mentioned it in the live chat last week or 2 weeks ago. But as soon as I said Toni Collette and the girl from Booksmart, I'm like, done. Mm-hmm. I'm on board. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'm still trying to get through. I want to finish off Ballers with Dwayne Johnson. I'm just approaching the end of season 3. I want to get through that show. But I think that my next one up is you were just talking about that one a little bit earlier.
First of all, the first episode's different than the rest of the series, and it just made me so angry. And then watching it became so fascinating. It's just the acting is incredible.
All right, next up, M.E. writes, any thoughts on Bob Iger's decision to pass on buying Twitter because the nastiness is extraordinary, and asking, why do I endure the pain? I can't comment. I don't even know if that's true. So I can't comment on that.
He did.
He did? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I don't know. Since I don't know the story, I can't comment on this point. Plus, I don't see why would they buy Twitter. That has nothing to do with their business model whatsoever. So I don't see why they would. It would seem to be a poor purchase. Brandon Nope writes, over under 50%. Jacob Tremblay nominated for Oscar before 25. 15%? That's pretty low for a kid that's already showing he's pretty good. I'll go over 15% on that. What about you, Aaron?
Me too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I would say over. Yeah.
Rob?
And he's also
Over.
his team is choosing some really good projects for him.
Yeah.
too.
He's attaching himself to really good stuff. So, yeah, I'll go over on
Part of
that.
the battle.
So I'm not sure I go over 80%, but I'll definitely take over 15. Superman Steve writes, hey, John, I'm on holiday this week at Ayers Rock / Uluru. Have you heard of it? It's in the middle of Australia. Dude, other than Melbourne, I couldn't tell you a single place in Australia. I have no idea. I'm geographically, other than the fact that I've always wanted to go to Australia, I really don't know anything other than Melbourne. That's about it. Rob, have you ever heard of this place?
Oh, yes. It's very, very famous. And if you're at Ayers Rock, you got to be rocking the Midnight Oil. You got to be playing a little Beds Are Burning.
Oh, is that reference in that
Little
song?
Peter
Is that
Garrett.
where they were on?
Is that reference in there?
No, well, I mean, Ayers Rock is it's a very famous, it's a holy place for Australian Aboriginals as well. But yes, I mean, Beds Are Burning, protest record from the mid-'80s, Peter
I
Garrett.
remember it. They have big spiders in Australia.
Huntsmen,
They do.
they fly.
They're like, oh, okay.
Giant flying
That's why I won't
huntsman
go.
spiders.
Yep.
So I won't go.
Yeah, you're never going to find Aaron there. All right,
Nope.
The Mandalorian of Gondor writes, hey, John, will you be seeing the 25th anniversary of Shawshank or Shining 4K remastered or Friends 25th anniversary in AMC theaters later this week? Probably not. I mean, if any of them I'm going to really try to do, it's going to be Shawshank because it's just one of the greatest feature films ever made in the history of mankind. I will try that, but unfortunately my week is actually pretty busy, so I may or may not. But I'm definitely going to try to get out to see that Shawshank one. Casinema Reviews writes, rest in peace, Divine Treasury Nog. That's what they called their afterlife, right? Wasn't the Divine Treasury?
The Ferengi afterlife.
I mean, such sad, especially, dude, so freaking young. This is crazy. Kevin Lewis writes, love season 1 and 2 of Stranger Things, but 3 is getting a little jump the sharky with played out tropes. Clones, your thoughts? I'll tell you what, I actually enjoyed season 3 more than I enjoyed the other two. And I like the other two. I like the other two very much, but for me, I actually think 3 was my favorite. And I was suspecting the shtick to be played out, but it worked for me. I don't know if it'll still be there for season 4, but I said that going into 3 as well. I don't know, Rob, what did you think of season 3?
I see it as the Oceans franchise. I saw Stranger Things 1 was definitely Oceans 11, but Stranger Things 3 was clearly Oceans 13.
What about you, Aaron?
I loved it. I thought it was great, and I really like how the characters are continuing to evolve, the relationships with one another. I'm really excited to see how that continues to go on.
All right, we move on here. Cinema Reviews writes, in my opinion, Aaron's best performance was in the episode where Nog returns after losing his leg and staying in the holosuite with Vic Fontaine. You were referencing that episode.
It's Only a Paper Moon is the name of that episode.
What do you think? Was that his best work on there, do you think?
Well, he's front and center. He's showcased. But the thing about Nog is he had great scenes throughout the series, but that episode specifically is dealing with him, and he is front and center, and he is terrific. Terrific. And if you've never seen Deep Space Nine or you don't know anything about it, go watch that episode. It's streaming, and you'll see what a great actor he really was.
All right. Next up comes to us from Michael Jones, who sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Michael, for supporting the channel on that level. It's my top 5 favorite lines on the John Campea Show. John, guys, you need to watch Kiss Kiss Gang Bang. Yeah, that was a Freudian slip of the tongue. I remember when that happened. I remember when that, because for weeks, everything I got on social media, and there was hashtag Kiss Kiss Gang Bang, which is totally different movie.
And it's also hard to even say that. Like, it doesn't even flow off the tongue very well.
Yeah, nope. No pun intended there either.
Uh-huh.
Number 4, Chris says, I know my voice sounds like a manic depressive piccolo, which I love that.
She's not wrong.
Aaron, if I fuck my way to the top, not fuck my way to the middle.
Yeah.
I remember you said that. I'm
not trying to fuck my way to the middle.
If I was not going to fuck my way to the middle.
Give me the top tier.
I love that. Let's see, Chris, is it good or bad luck to get hit by soup goop? Yeah. And number 1, Robert Meyer Burnett's Everybody's Got a Hot Cousin, which is, I still remember that one too.
I mean,
those are some,
you're not wrong.
You're not
I know,
wrong.
right? I mean,
you're not wrong. It's part of it. Those are some good ones, Michael. Oh my God. And there's probably a bunch of others too. Thank you for sharing those, dude. I appreciate that. All right. Whew. Okay. Get my head back.
This is a very entertaining show.
Oh yeah.
Got to get my head back in the game here now. Matthew Grant writes, so with all the Disney remakes, where the hell is our Night on Bald Mountain movie? I want that. Bring it on. I don't know what Bald Mountain is, Rob.
Well, I guess he's talking about the Sorcerer's Apprentice section of Fantasia with the and the music is the Night on Bald Mountain. Yeah. I would love to see that, but they made a Sorcerer's Apprentice movie.
They did with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so good. All right. Let's see. Pool of Dead writes. Oh, where do we go? Never bet against James Cameron, but also never bet against Kevin Feige. What do I do? Well, I mean, hey, give Kevin Feige some more time there. Like, seriously, I am more and more convinced that right now, in sports terminology, the MCU is in a rebuilding phase at this point. I mean, look, they just lost not only Captain America and Iron Man, the 2 biggest pillars of the MCU that there have been to this point. Now they've lost Spider-Man as well, one of arguably the most popular character they have. And they've kind of wrapped up everything with Endgame. And now we're getting into, what did somebody say? One of the viewers called it, Rob, you weren't here that day, but one of the viewers wrote in that the MCU now feels like Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Ooh.
Which I get that on its, because what do we got? We got Shang-Chi coming. We got a lot of new faces coming, all this kind of stuff. I really do feel, and somebody had asked last week, Rob, if like the buzz of the MCU was now gone. And my answer was, the buzz isn't gone, but it's different. It is different now. And a lot of people did write in and say, yeah, I'm kind of not excited by the MCU right now just because of how Endgame felt like it was the finale. It was all that kind of stuff. And the way I kind of set it up, Rob, and I'd be curious to know your thoughts on this, is that in sports terminology, they're now in a rebuilding phase. And just like they built it up to greatness before, they can absolutely do it again. But it is rebuilding now. They've thrown a lot of their most major popular stuff is now gone. They wrapped up Endgame. It's a brand new start, and we'll see where they go from here. But anyway, what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I feel the same way. I mean, first of all, the films they're unshackled by the continuity that the first 23 movies in the cinematic universe were dealing with. I mean, we're getting a movie called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is insanity to me. Thor, Love and Thunder. I love the fact that we can go off on these crazy, weird tangents, and it's gonna be the Marvel Cinematic Universe unleashed. Then we're getting a Moon Knight show, which was, what I wanted most of all. And we're getting WandaVision, a weird psycho sitcom that turns into some crazy thing with Scarlet Witch and the Vision. I mean, what we got this 23 film Infinity Saga done. Now we're getting something spinning off into these crazy directions. I think whatever we're going to get is going to be monumentally entertaining. And that's what I want. What are they going to do? They did 23 movies. What, you want another Infinity Saga 2? You know what that would be like? It would be like Secret Wars 2 when the Beyonder came to Earth. Arguably the worst Marvel comics ever made. They were terrible in the 80s after the fun of Secret Wars. We don't want that. What we want is what we're getting, something new, fresh, unique, interesting, and we're starting from scratch with new characters. We're getting Eternals. Who knows what that's going to be like? I'm really excited.
Or Civil War 2, which I also did not think was all that good, to be honest with you. Aaron, your thought on that, with where the general buzz right now is for the MCU, and can they rebuild that back up to the plateau that it hit with Endgame?
Well, I think that you're in the building phase is really good. I mean, the Cowboys have been doing it for 20 years now. But I love the idea that people like Rob are embracing this is a new phase and it's going to be building up. My only concern is if whatever the next movie comes out from the Marvel Universe, if people go, well, it didn't do as well as Endgame.
Yeah,
obviously.
Which there are going to be some people that do, which is
and
unrealistic.
That's the thing, is that if the fan base can understand that this is a whole new section and we're just starting a new chapter and start going along for the ride, understand this is like a roller coaster and a build up, that eventually maybe this whole new class of characters is going to have their Endgame corresponding kind of film, then great. But as long as people aren't trying to compare its success box office wise to previous Marvel films that had those 23 films to lead up to that, then I'm game for it.
All right, next up here, we got Angel Chang, who writes, The Mother of Dragons and That Dress Lady Knight. I don't know what that means. Is that a reference to the dress
Thrones?
she wore last night?
Probably.
At the Emmys? Probably. Again, I didn't watch the Emmys, so I don't know the dress that she wore, but I'm sure it was probably something pretty awesome. All right, Kevin Lewis writes, best macho moment in the MCU. Number 1, Cap's first elevator scene. Anybody want to get out? I do love that scene. Before we begin, does anybody want to get out? I love that scene. Number 2, Scarlet Witch's You Will. My God. That is one of my absolute favorite moments of Endgame, and also kind of suggests that maybe she goes a little bit crazy. If for those of you who don't remember, there's a scene where she's walking up to Thanos, right? And she's like she's just her alone. And he's just like, you took everything from me. He's like, I don't even know who you are. And in this cold, heartless kind of tone, she says, You will. And I'm like, if I didn't have more control of my constitution, I would have crapped my pants right there in the theater when she said that. I love that moment. Anyway, Drax fights monster from inside. I didn't like that scene, to be honest. 4, Captain stands to fight whole of Thanos' army. Yeah, that's your winner right there. And Rocket slaps Thor. That was a great scene. But no, to me, the most iconic image ever in the history of MCU. I'm not saying it's the best scene ever. I'm not saying whatever, but the most iconic image to me became in Endgame. And it's that scene of Captain America by himself, seeing Thanos and all of his army, not turning and running, not whatever. He just straps it up and is like, let's go. And to me, best image ever. I've said that once before, and thankfully to a lot of you guys sent me then that image of it. To me, it's the greatest image ever. It's the greatest, kick-ass moment I think I've ever seen. But that Scarlet Witch one is a pretty close second to me. Rob, do you've got one off the top of your head?
Well, when Thor shows up at the end of Infinity War.
Oh, yeah, and they start
with
playing an immigrant song again.
Yeah, and Bring Me Thanos. I mean, I was like, man, I felt like a 5-year-old kid. I wanted to scream F yeah.
It's biggest pop in Infinity War.
Oh.
Like I mean, when Thor shows up, that was it. I mean,
loved it.
Everybody went nuts. Do you have a favorite moment, like one of those iconic kick-ass moments in any of the MCU films you've seen, Erin?
It's the "you will" moment, and the reason why I love it is because it is such a clear. It is such a perfect moment of subtlety. You know, like it would be so easy for her to be like, you will, you know, and to milk that, and it just wouldn't have the power. But just the delicateness of saying a line and having the confidence to know, oh, yeah. Like, I love her delivery on that. And by the way, I just looked up Emilia Clarke's dress from last night. Hated it.
Well, there you go. I'll say this, too. The thing about the tone in which she says that, you will, it oozes to me a sense of hunter and prey.
It's very menacing.
It's like, I'm the hunter, you're just my prey.
Yeah.
And and this is Thanos. And she's like, it's like, oh, there's something so awesome about that line. Okay. Anyway, Alex Hayna writes, the answer to the 3 movies, 1 actor game the other day was John Turturro, Quiz Show, The Big Lebowski, and Rounders. There you go. Who was he? Oh, that's right. He was the grinder in Rounders. I forgot about that. Let's play again. Steel Magnolias, Black Hawk Down, The Notebook. So what Alex sent in the other day is he listed 3 movies. He goes, who's the actor that shares all of them? I did not get Turturro, but as soon as you said it, yeah, okay, so what's this one? Steel Magnolias, so it's not Tom Cruise. Black Hawk Down and The Notebook. All right, well, it's not Rachel McAdams.
It's not Ryan Gosling.
It's not Ryan Gosling. It's not Ewan McGregor.
It's not Julia Roberts. It's not Dolly Parton. It's not Olympia Dukakis. It's not Daryl Hannah. It's obviously, I mean, Black Hawk Down. It's probably a dude.
Who's the older captain in Black Hawk Down?
That's what I was thinking. The dad who plays the father.
Problem is, I've only ever seen Notebook once.
Yeah.
And that was forever ago, so I can't, outside of McAdams and James Garner, and was James Garner? No, it's not James Garner.
Was not in
It's not
Steel
Eric
Magnolias.
Bana.
All right, well, we can't spend too much time on that, but that's a good one. If you guys in the comment section know it, jump on down, leave your answer for Alex. All right, Kenneth Colton writes, hey, John, today is my 36th birthday. Happy birthday, Kenneth. I hope you have a great year ahead of you, man, and a wonderful day. I woke up early to get Joker tickets. I wanted to thank you, Rob, Aaron, Chris, for everything. This community is amazing, and I'm glad to be a part of it, and we're glad that you're a part of it, too. Clearly, you were already on the ball about the whole Joker thing. You didn't need me to tell you about it, and I did. I jumped in there, bought 8 tickets. Yeah, bought 8 tickets. I don't even know who's going. Well, I know
We're going.
Aaron and Tom's going. Rob's going to come.
We're going to ask Chris to go as well.
Yeah, we'll get Chris to go as well. I don't know. I don't even know if Anne's going to be able to get off work because it's a 4:00 in the afternoon screening. But I went in there, instantly bought my 8 tickets. But anyway, Kenneth, listen, dude, have a fabulous birthday ahead of you. I hope you enjoy Joker as much as I'm hoping I enjoy Joker. And thanks for being a part of the community and being part of the reason why the community is so much fun, man. So thank you for that, Kenneth. All
Sam
right.
Shepard.
That's who it is.
Who was he in Notebook? See, you say Sam Shepard. I don't even remember him in Notebook. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Hold on.
But I like the game. I like that game. Name 3 movies and name the actor in it.
Yeah, that is a fun game.
I like that. Well done. Okay, we got to keep moving on here. Let's see. Alex Hayna writes, John, would you be willing to say why exactly you think AMC's HR department is a bunch of bottom-feeding trolls? If not, I understand. Just curious. Well, I'm not going to go into the whole thing again, but they are just a pack of fucking idiots over it. I'm not going to mince words. They are the most bottom-feeding, dwelling bunch of irrational, demonic fucking morons
I'm
in
sure
the
someone
universe.
has put one of many clips of you talking about them.
I'm
online.
sure they have, and I really don't care. They're a bunch of fucking idiots over there. But I mean, that's all in just my opinion, of course. I'll just very short abbreviated version. The way they threw my boss under the bus and the way they treated my boss when he did absolutely nothing wrong. They needed a scapegoat. They made my boss the scapegoat. And then after that was done, and it took me a month to decide not to leave, then they came after me for something that my boss did, which he only did because the vice president of the company and the chief executive officers of the company told him to do, and he was following orders and did it. They held him accountable for that. And then because I followed as well, then they tried to hold me accountable as well. And I'm like, screw you, I'm gone. And that's why I left. But I'm not going to go into more exact detail than that. But anyway, there's that. Alex also writes, if you could recommend one movie you think not enough people have seen, what would it be besides Stardust, John? I've seen and love that. I don't know, off the top of my head, I mean, Stardust is certainly one of the big ones. Off the top of my head, I mean, I don't know. Rob, do you?
There's a million. Look, I'd say the Japanese movie Tampopo.
I'm not
Check
familiar
it out.
with that one.
It's one of my favorite Japanese movies. It's from a long time ago. It's basically a movie about noodles. It's a Japanese Western about noodles, movies, and sex.
In.
Yeah, and do you have one, Aaron? That
Student Bodies. It is a horror spoof film. Oh, okay. I guess everybody's seen that. Okay, fine.
No. I don't know. I think you're right, though. I think a lot of people have not seen it.
If you haven't seen the late 70s horror spoof film, Student Bodies, it is just, I've seen it so many times. I could probably quote it. It is just phenomenal and entertaining as all get out.
And Megaforce. I just had to get a reaction on Rob. Okay, just a couple more here before we got to let Rob and Aaron go. Trev8 writes, there are some critics who gave Rambo 5 a bad review over politics, but do you think this is the main reason for bad reviews? No, I don't. See, here's the thing. Out of the hundreds of critics who have reviewed Rambo, there are a couple, out of hundreds, like less than 1% of those critics gave the movie a bad review as a result of a political position. The problem is then there are people with the opposite agenda that try to use that as critics do. No. Like 1% of them did it. It's not a reflection of overall critics whatsoever in the world. Now, what he's talking about is there are some specific critics, and I completely disagree with them on this, who, when you read their review, they make it clear themselves. This isn't interpretation. This is they make it clear themselves that I think this was a bad movie because in today's age, it's wrong to have anybody who's Mexican as a villain. You shouldn't do that. It's tone deaf of them to do that. And I mean, clearly, I completely disagree with that. I mean, because I think you can make anybody the villain. You can make anybody the hero. You can make, John Wick. Like, look, if you say you can't make these people villains, well, then who can you make villains? I think everybody should be the hero, the villain. Everybody should have a thing. And look, it made sense for the narrative of the movie. So I disagree with the idea of bringing in a political thing and making that be the determination point about whether you say a movie is good or bad. I reject that. That said, the vast majority, see, there are people who now have a reverse political agenda that think everybody should like Rambo, and the only reason anybody didn't like Rambo is because of a political agenda. No. 99% of the critics who didn't like Rambo simply didn't like it because it's not that great of a movie. And I'm somebody who likes Rambo Last Blood. It's not that good of a movie, but it's viscerally satisfying because the way I described it, guys, was I described it as there is something viscerally satisfying about the simple pleasure of seeing the hero doing tremendously awful things to tremendously awful people. There's just something we love seeing that in some, whether it's John Wick, that the original John Wick, a lot of that movie was about setting up that these guys, just so you know, what John Wick is about to do to these people is completely deserved, and they killed his puppy, and we're like, screw those guys. John Wick, give him everything. And that's what the first part of Rambo is some terrible people doing some terrible things that make us lose any empathy for those villains. So then when Rambo visits unspeakable, unholy vengeance upon them, we don't feel bad for them at all. So it's very much like John Wick is better, but it's very much like John Wick in that regard.
And Mean Girls.
And Mean Girls.
I didn't feel bad when Rachel McAdams got fat from eating those protein bars.
Is butter a carb? It is, but it's true. You need to set up a part of your film to make it so you don't feel bad for these people when the hero of the film comes back and gets their comeuppance, right? And so, look, this whole thing, there are some, who cares? Like, I hate it when we talk about the 1%. It's not worth talking about the 1%. Because the 1%, there's going to be everything is represented in the 1%. It's pointless to talk about. It's not worth bringing up. And so that would be my response to that at any rate, Trev. Sorry that I monopolized that. Let's make this the last one that we get for these guys here. Tobias Friendly writes, my top 5 of all time. I don't know this one.
Me neither.
Crusty, I don't know the one. Your Name, I do know that one. Number 3, Shawshank Redemption. Number 2, Interstellar. Number 1, About Time. I've not seen About Time.
I
Put it on
recently
listen.
watched that. I loved it.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Tobias had something else to say about Time in his second thing. What did he say?
Oh, let's move on here. About Time is a movie that always makes me happy. It helped me so many times during the hard phases of my life, and almost everybody I know loves it too.
Keeps going.
And thanks for everything you do, John. You're also an important part of my life because every day when I listen to you, it inspires me and makes me happy. Well, thanks so much,
Tobias, for
And
watching.
That's what movies do, right? Movies, they inspire us. They let us imagine the way the world could be, the way we want it to be, sometimes the way it is, sometimes the way we're afraid of it being, but it always delivers those things. And I think About Time does it. This is the first time it's been brought up on this list. Rob, you were just talking about you just had the opportunity to watch it.
Yeah, I watched it recently. I had not seen it. I thought it was delightful. And what a really interesting look at the old time travel trope. And I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
That's Donald Gleason in that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought he was Hux. I thought he was great. And the movie surprised me. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was truly delightful, and what an ending! It was great.
And I don't like time travel movies. Have you had a chance to see this one, Erin?
I have not, but I will.
A lot of people have not had a chance to see this
How
one
can
yet.
you not
That's
like
right.
time travel movies?
How come I don't like time travel
Yeah,
movies?
man.
Yeah, I really
'cause
like time travel movies.
Here's the reason. With a couple of there are a few exceptions. Obviously, Back to the Future, Star Trek, Voyage Home. To me,
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Time After Time with Malcolm McDowell and David Warner and Mary
here's
Steenburgen.
the thing. To me, time travel is the ultimate lazy man's tool in writing because, and this is 100% true, there is no conflict or problem in any movie or television show in history that can't be fixed. Time travel. Time travel fixes.
Bruh, did you see Somewhere in Time? Come on.
But no,
What about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
again,
That's how I learned history.
Socrates. It's to me, yeah, that and multiple dimension nonsense. It's the ultimate lazy man's thing. It's like we can't think of a way that this is a problem that can be solved by heroes. Time travel. There's not a problem in any movie ever that can't be solved with time travel. That's why I consider it to be a lazy man's tool in writing. Again, there are exceptions to me. There are exceptions. I'm not saying every single thing ever made with time travel is bad. Not at all. I'm just saying in general, when I hear some of these coming out and it's about time travel, I just go,
If you are writing or doing a time travel movie, you just have to be very careful of the traps.
yes.
It is
yes.
a big trap. And if you don't fall in the trap, then you can do it very well. But most of them fall in the trap, is what I'm hearing you saying.
Yeah, and also it's just, again, it's a lazy thing. It's just that fixes any problem. I mean, if you can go back to Star Wars, if you can make time travel part of Star Wars, well, then you just go back and make sure you throw away the plans of the Death Star before they start building it.
I think if
There,
time
end of the
travel is
movie.
used as the way of solving a problem, yes. But if the whole basis of the film is based on time travel, like what is Back to the Future without time travel?
Again, like I said, Back to the Future is one of my. I'm not saying they're all. I'm not trying to lay down a blanket statement. I'm saying for me there are exceptions. I'm just saying in general for me, that's just the thing.
There's
for
a
me.
Spanish movie you have to watch called Time Crimes. And it starts out with a guy sitting on a lounge chair in his backyard.
But is it as good as Jean-Claude Van Damme's Time Cop?
It is so good. Time
That's-
Crimes
okay.
is so good. It's very surprising. If you haven't watched it, if you haven't seen Time Crimes, watch Time Crimes. It's Spanish.
All right, guys, listen. We are going to continue on and take some more of your questions, but for right now, it is time for us to bid adieu to Robert Meyer Burnett and Aron right now. They got other things they need to do today. So first of all, Robert, thank you so much for being here, dude. Always awesome to have the master of fun and wonder here. Where can people find you online tickling people's fancies?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett or on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and its adjacent website, TheBurnettWork.net.
And guys, again, a little bit later on tonight, you need to tune into CBS to see our own Aaron Cummings here on CBS on All Rise tonight. It makes its series premiere tonight. Go on over and check that out. Of course, Aaron, it's always awesome to have you here. I'm so
See
excited.
how long my hair's gotten since we shot the pilot.
Is it weird that I get I feel like super proud and all excited that when you're doing this shit? I mean, I think that's awesome. Anyway, where other than watching
It
All Rise
legitimizes
tonight,
us for sure.
yeah, there you go. on CBS tonight. Where can people find you, Erin?
Well, tomorrow people can find me on the set of Lucifer as I wrap up my episode that I'm guest starring on. And
How cool is that?
That I'm seriously, like, I don't know that there's anybody you could tell that to that would be more excited than me.
I was
That's
shooting
actually
until
a comic book show.
I was shooting until 2:00 in the morning on Friday night. It was really fun. But if you would like to follow me online, you can go to @AaronL.Cummings on Twitter and on Instagram. And you can go to my Facebook page, but I haven't been there in months. So, I mean, if I'm not going there, you shouldn't either.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. And guys, let's now continue on with the rest of your live questions. We got about another half hour here to go, so let's keep on rolling. All right. Next up comes to us from Christopher Chow, who writes, "Hey, John, really excited to buy and read about the life experiences from Bob Iger's new book, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as a CEO of Disney." I have not heard of that. That's a book I will buy. I will get that, well, at least the audio version on Audible. I will definitely be getting that. I didn't even know that was coming out, Christopher. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I want to see that. I want to read that badly. That sounds like it would be fascinating. Right. Alvin Elmore writes, "One of two. MCU buzz can be brought back easily. All they have to do is simply say the word mutant in one of the next 4 films. Don't even show mutants. Just say that word and people get excited." No, you're wrong. And I'll tell you why in a second. Over under 30% will hear the word mutant within the next 4 films. Yeah, we'll hear the word mutant, but no, that's just not true. That's just not true. See, here's the thing. That will make the people who are already hardcore MCU fans excited, sure. But the core fans are not what makes the MCU wildly globally popular. It's the thing about the MCU is the fact that it's garnered the hardcore fans, but it's also gotten the average movie-going fans. That's the people it's really gotten. And saying the word mutant in an MCU film is going to do nothing for them. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But, mutants didn't make people jump up and run out to go see X-Men Dark Phoenix. I mean, it's just not. It'll be exciting for me, and it'll be exciting for you, Alvin, and it'll be exciting for Rob and a number of the people we know. But my mom, who is the perfect representation of somebody who really enjoys MCU movies, not hardcore, core fan base, but loves those movies, goes to see those movies. You say mutants in Shang-Chi, that's not going to do anything for my mom. That's not going to do anything for the average film-going fan. It'll be interesting, but not much. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. Like, it's going to get your juices flowing, and it's going to get my juices flowing, but we're not the majority, right? We're that core group, and we only represent a certain percentage of the overall fandom. It's going to take them making completely enjoyable movies again. Just like they were starting from scratch when the first Iron Man came out. What did they do? They made a great movie. They made a great movie with great characters, great dialogue, got people excited, and it kind of grew from there. That's what they need to do. There's no little shtick they can do. It's like, oh, just say mutants and it'll get them excited. It won't. It'll get some of us excited, but not that vast majority. Nothing short of doing what they did before. Make great, entertaining, compelling movies. If they keep doing that, then they're going to get back to where they were and maybe even exceed it. But that's the key. There's no one button fixes everything. Just say mutants or just say Galactus or, suggesting the Fantastic Four will get everybody excited. No, it won't. There's a reason the Fantastic Four comic, nobody was reading it and it got canceled. It's going to take nothing short of making fantastic movies. Keep making them on a regular basis and you'll get everybody, including the casual movie fan, you'll get everybody back on board. But it's going to take something that size, not some little thing like say Fantastic Four or say mutants. That's going to get the core of us excited, but we don't represent the huge level of success, right? It's the average moviegoers that they got to get. But you and I, Alvin, you and I can be sitting together. When they say mutants, you and me can freak out. And even if it's just you and me freaking out in the theater, we'll just enjoy it ourselves. All right. Tim writes, "Hey, John and crew, do you think James Cameron will apply some new type of 3D for Avatar 2? Besides that, I'm not really interested in Avatar 2 yet." I'll be honest with you. I mean, look, we're still years away from Avatar 2. We are literally still years away from Avatar 2. So they haven't even started to try to get us interested in that movie yet. They haven't even begun the efforts to even get us remotely excited for it. So that's fine. We can put that off. I do expect, look, it's James Cameron. He's always trying to revolutionize technology in film. So we will get something, but I really don't care about that. I care about, is the movie entertaining to watch? If the movie's entertaining to watch, it's all that matters. But Tim, I got no doubt that he's working on something. He's always working on trying to push new technology. Patrick Conway writes, choose to save one show, Frasier or Cheers? Oh, Cheers. I love Frasier. I do. I love Frasier. But Cheers is one of the all-time greatest ever. Some seasons weren't all that strong, but like to me, the show became a little iffy after Shelley Long left. But Cheers was really ahead of its time. So I love Frasier, but I'm going to save Cheers. Jose Miaz writes, your thoughts on Emmy 2019 winners? I haven't gone out through the whole list. I didn't watch the show. But again, we talked about Game of Thrones, again, taking the top prize, Best Dramatic Series. Fleabag pulled a Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, because remember the other year, nobody really watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel yet, and all of a sudden won all the Emmys, Best Writing, Best Comedy Series, Best Actress, all this kind of stuff. This year was Fleabag's year. So I've only seen like half of an episode because Anne's watching it now, but I know Anne loves it. And I know Chris Carr loves it. But other than that, yeah, and obviously Chernobyl sweeping up all the limited series awards. That was a no-brainer. Frenchie Wayne writes, one of two. Hello, John and Co. Big fan from France. Bonjour, mon ami. I've been watching you talk about movies since AMC Movie Talk Phase 2. It was around the same time Mr. Schnepp, a.k.a. The Best, joined the team. So I want to thank you for all these years of entertainment and those to come. Also, shout out to the current team. Love the alchemy with Chris, Rob, and Aaron. However, I do have a question. What about the John Campea Show Phase 2? Well, first of all, Frenchie, merci, very, very much. Merci. It's funny. Anne was like, teach me some French, because Anne's favorite athlete in the world is Georges St. Pierre. And we had this event once where she was going to meet George. She's going to have a chance to meet George. She goes, teach me some French quick. I say, okay, just go up to George and say, bonjour, Georges. Je m'appelle Anne. Then it took her a while to get her to learn how to play Je m'appelle Anne. And say, comment t'appelles-tu? Ask him how he is. So just go up to him and say, bonjour, George, je m'appelle Anne. And sure enough, bonjour, George, je m'appelle Anne. Anyway, I don't know about the John Campea Show Phase 2. I don't know. You need to always be thinking 3 steps ahead. But at the same time, I'm so happy right now with where things are. I'm just so enjoying where things are right now. That's weird. That's not to say, though, that I didn't have a phone conversation on Saturday, which was not the first phone conversation. It's been part of several phone conversations I've been having that could be introducing something that changes things up a little bit, not some huge night and day thing, but a little bit that I cannot talk about publicly right now. But there might be a little something in the works. One of the reasons I can't discuss it publicly is because I don't know 100% for sure that I'm going to be able to do it. But let's just say that, again, had a phone conversation, could be leading to something kind of interesting that we could be announcing in the next month or two, maybe. I don't know if it's so significant that we would dub it John Campea Show Phase 2, as much as it would be an interesting little change or addition. Don't know. Can't say much. But yeah, there might be something like that coming. But anyway, dude, thank you for being along for the ride ever since those were good days, the storage closet days at AMC. And then that led us into AMC Phase 3 as we moved into the office that I found. And then I was in that office till the day that I left and all that kind of stuff. A lot of interesting things. And of course, we always miss Schnepp. He was the best. And thank you for asking, Frenchie Wayne. And thank you for being part of the show. And thank you for being one of our international friends, dude. Again, merci beaucoup, mon ami. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, I wanted to get into Smallville, but missed my chance, as I now can't imagine spending all those hours watching Allison Mack as one of the heroes. I don't know. It's a weird thing for me, Ryan. I don't have a problem, and I have no explanation for this, and I'm not justifying it. I'm saying I have no explanation. When we find out some celebrity is an idiot or does something stupid, I actually have no problem watching their older stuff, But I can't imagine watching newer stuff. Like all the stuff that's gone on with Kevin Spacey. I have no problem watching Kevin Spacey's older stuff. I don't know why. I can watch his older stuff and not think about the controversy and all the stuff that's going on swirling around Kevin Spacey now. I can watch, or the original seasons of House of Cards, and I can watch American Beauty, and I can watch Usual Suspects, and I can watch all that stuff and not a problem. But the thought of watching something new with them is weird. I can go back and watch Smallville with Allison Mack and not have any issue, not even think about any of the stuff she's going through now. But I don't know that I could watch any of the stuff. And again, I'm not saying that's the right way of looking at it, and I have no explanation for it. I'm just saying that's the way my mind kind of works, and I don't know why. Okay, let's move on here. Jabin Carter writes, have you heard about Samsung's 4K upscaling tech? It's AI that fills in the pixels by using machine learning and supposedly can make anything into 4K. Well, upscaling technology is nothing new per se. Upscaling has always been around to a degree, and upscaling resolution, particularly into 4K and then later 8K, is something that they've been working on for a while. Now, the question will be, how good is it? And I don't know yet, but it does raise some pretty interesting things. I mean, the idea that you could have like a Samsung 4K television and take a DVD and have it play in 4K and not look like, you can blow up anything into 4K, but it's going to degrade the image quality. If you could do that and play without any perceived loss of image quality and actually increase image quality, it's fascinating, but it's coming. I mean, and we know they've been working on it for a while. KB writes, if Disney ever wanted to buy back the Spider-Man IP from Sony, assuming there is a number figure high enough, how much do you speculate it would take? It's hard to say. Look, it would take a number that's higher than Disney is willing to pay. Because you have to ask yourself, what is it actually worth? Because you don't want to spend $10 on something that you're going to get $8 out of, right? That's bad business. You want to spend $10 on something that you're going to get $14 out of. So how much, if you're Disney, are you willing to pay to get Spider-Man? How much money do you think you can make from Spider-Man? Because, honestly, like $3 billion is not worth it. It's not worth it, and they know that. So, and it's going to take probably $4+ billion for Sony to even entertain the idea of selling it back. I guarantee you Disney is asked. I guarantee you in the midst of all this stuff, the question was just put to Sony, look, what if we paid you this? Can you just give it back to us? And Sony has said no. And it's probably into the $3 to $4 billion range. It's just too valuable to Sony right now. Right now, Spider-Man is more valuable to Sony than they would be to Disney. And so whatever dollar value Disney would be willing to pay to get him back is not going to equal the dollar value that Sony will require Disney to pay in order to consider giving him up. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Jersey Kid writes, I created a new game for you in the community. Each week, I'm going to give you a list of movies I saw that week, and you have to pick one favorite. For example, this week I saw The Rum Diary, Hellboy 2019, Palms, Us, Silent House, and Dumbo 2019. What was your favorite? Mine is Us. I'd have to actually go, Us. I didn't love Us. I actually thought Us was a significant step down from his previous film, Get Out. I thought it was a significant step down, but I still enjoyed it. I didn't really love Palms. I didn't love Silent House. I did not like Dumbo, and I did not like Rum Diary, and I did not like Hellboy. So for this list, Jersey Kid, it's actually a pretty easy one for me. I'm going to go Us. That is clearly the one that I like the most out of that one. That sounds like an interesting game, Jersey. Chris Feldman writes, I was surprised to read Shawshank Redemption was considered a box office flop at its release, barely earning back its production budget, given its beloved status. Now, was it just poorly marketed back in 1994? I checked the weekly box office during its release, and it had no major competition either. It's just, look, there are some movies that are hard to market, and there are some movies that are just not going to appeal to a big, wide audience. A movie about a guy in jail. How do you sell that? From a box office point of view, from a marketing and a PR point of view, Chris, how do you sell that? How do you sell without big action sequences, without it being a comedy, just drama about a guy who, wrongfully spent 20 plus years in jail? That sounds like fun. Whoa, that sounds like a good time. Let's rush out to the theaters to see that. It doesn't sound like a good time. It doesn't sound like something you want to rush out to the theaters to see. And it's not until after the fact that we realize this could be the greatest motion picture ever made. Shawshank Redemption. It's bloody breathtaking. It's bloody brilliant. And I think there's an argument to be made that it may be the best feature film ever made. It's remarkable, but hard to market. And how do you sell that when people don't know it's one of the best films ever made yet? And I feel like it's one of those films that over time, more and more people, because remember, even at the time, it didn't win Best Picture. Forrest Gump won Best Picture. There's no way Forrest Gump, like today, if you held the Academy Awards today, and you said, we're going to go back in time now and retroactively do that, Shawshank Redemption wins Best Picture easy. But, it took a while to get there. So it's not just that it did a bad job marketing it. It's like, how do you market that movie to get a big audience? Hey guys, coming out this Friday, see a movie about a guy, a drama, non-comedy, non-action, about a guy who wrongfully spent over 20 years in prison. It's a hard sell. And it took us a while to appreciate just what a masterpiece it is. But anyway, something we got to keep in mind, Chris. Jared Oberfeld writes, 1 of 2, bought the Batman Burton/Schumacher 4K box set. Rob will cry looking at the box art. I'm sure he would. Now that, Jared, is some hardcore dedication there buying that box set, my friend. All right, K Major writes, Frozen trying to go from cute Disney movie to epic Disney movie. And you know what, K Major, I don't disagree, but there's nothing saying it can't be both. There's nothing saying that it can't be a cute movie and an epic movie all rolled into one. I think you can do both. I do know this. I'm impressed. Now, I know the cool thing is to say, it's Frozen. Who cares? I don't care. This looks good. It certainly looks better than some of the other crap Disney's given us lately, like from that really disappointing Mary Poppins 2, from the Dumbo, which I did not like at all. I mean, this, on the other hand, looks actually really good. So I'm excited to see it. Mark me down as being somebody who's excited to see this new damn Frozen 2. I think the trailers have been great. Who Reacts writes, RIP each person loving random movies because of constant showings on cable for months on end. The good old days, Back to the Beach, The Burbs equal my classic. Well, here's the thing though, Who Reacts. There's still just a small fragment of films that get that treatment, right? It's not like every movie ever made gets that treatment. It's still only a small fraction of that. So I don't think those days are gone. I personally, Who Reacts, I don't think those days are gone. By the way, The Burbs is pretty damn fun. Todd S. writes, have you seen The Last Castle with Robert Redford? If it's the one he also did with James Gandolfini, then yes. But I'm not sure that's the one I'm thinking of. Hold on a second. If it's the one I'm thinking of, then yes, and I liked it quite a bit. But is that the right one? And yes, it is the one with James Gandolfini and Mark Ruffalo and Delroy Lindo. Speaking of Deep Space, no, he wasn't in Deep Space Nine. That was whatever. Anyway, Clifton Collins Jr. was in all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I like that film. Who Reacts writes, kids and streaming is sad. With instant everything available, my kids consume fast. No time on reflecting. I'm Tyrant Dad makes us rewatch movies we love. Lost Era. You know what? I don't know. Because I've got some friends. Kids are still kids. Now, granted, I can't speak for your kids. Everybody's kid is different. Every individual is different. But I have friends with kids who all they want to watch is Toy Story 3. Hey kids, look at all these thousands of movies we can watch right now on Netflix and think, don't you want to watch one of those? Toy Story 3! And they want to watch Toy. I mean, kids' natures is forever, right? It's like kids find a movie they like, they just want to watch that movie over and over and over and over and over again. So, I mean, everybody's kids are different, and maybe yours are a little bit different from that, but the kids I know who are kids of friends of mine, they get on a movie and that's it. They want to watch that movie every day. Right? But hey, everybody's kids, maybe you should be grateful. Maybe you should be grateful, Who Reacts, that your kids are connoisseurs and say, yes, this was great. Give me more of this movie making magic. Give me more. Maybe you should be grateful. Maybe your kids are the exceptional ones. Maybe you should be a little bit more thankful for that, Who Reacts. I don't know. I'm no kid psychologist. Let's see. Shinigami I writes, Chinese market growth since 2009 will help Avatar 2. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. China loves Avatar. And it will certainly help. I don't think it'll make or break it, but I think you're absolutely correct when you say it will help, because I think that will be the one of the elements that goes into that. Who Reacts writes, okay movie, great quote. Expect more. It's supposed to be a challenge. That's why they call it a shortcut. If it was easy, it would just be the way. I can see it being said. It's a couple of guys in a car. I can't remember the name of the. I can't remember which movie it was though. I can totally. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can totally see a couple of guys in a car talking as a car is driving. But I can't. I'm not even close to figuring out which actual movie. And I might be wrong. For all I know, it's a couple of guys on a space shuttle. But I think it's a couple of guys in a car talking. But I can't. I'm lost. If you guys know that quote, jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, Jacob Silvers writes, sends in a big super chat. Thank you, Jacob, for supporting the channel on that level, man. I appreciate it, dude. Jacob writes, hey, John, how about those Pats yesterday? Absolutely. My Vikings won, too, so it's a win for both of us. By the way, I like the Vikings. I do. I really do like them. I love that new Frozen 2 trailer. Me, too. The dislodge, I think you probably meant dialogue. Sounds great. Elsa, you can't just follow me into fire, Anna, then don't run into fire. I was talking about that a little bit earlier, Jacob. I love that line. I seriously, I got kind of chills watching that because you guys know me, right? I've talked about this before. I don't get choked up or anything on stupid stuff in movies. The thing that gets me choked up is over-the-top extreme examples of loyalty and friendship. And these two being sisters, I love that line when she says, you can't just follow me into fire. And she's like, then don't run into fire. Because basically, if you run into fire, I'm running in after you. Like, that's, to me, is a fabulous line. I love that line. It speaks to me and it has impact on me. And it's just another one of the reasons why I like the trailer so much. And if you can build a lot of that theme into this movie, sign me up. I love that stuff, whether it's brotherly love, sisterly love, friendship bonds and love, loyalty, that sort of thing. Those are the themes. I can't speak for everybody else, but those are the themes that speak to me. And those are the themes that have big, big impact on me. Again, I can't speak to everybody else, but it's a line like that that really spoke to me and had an impact on me. I'm getting chills thinking about it. I just love that line. Then don't run into fire. I love that line, Jacob. I really, really do. All right, Jacob Reich writes, so the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is from one of my all-time favorites. It's the stupidest combination I've ever heard of in my life. It's the kind of thing that an idiot would have on his luggage. That's, of course, from Spaceballs. Remind me to change the combination on my luggage. He says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the stupidest combination ever. I love that line from Spaceballs. It's awesome, Murray. Good on you for quoting Spaceballs. Always love when people quote Spaceballs. Raj Nikanth writes, theaters become luxury or novelty in 50 years. Oh, dude, 50. Who knows? 50. The question is, what is it in 5 years? 5 years. Listen, and I'm not going to go into it in big depth here. The big question is, I believe the theater going experience is the best movie watching experience ever. Watching movies at home is not the same. You think your home theater is good? It sucks compared to a movie theater. It just does. I've got a pretty good home theater system too. It sucks compared to a movie-going experience. Movies are made, as Christopher Nolan says all the time, movies are made to be watched in theaters with an audience. That's the best way. They've just got to find a way to maintain that, because right now it's becoming harder and harder for people to go. So who knows where it's going to be in 5 years, dude? Well, that's the big question. Nick writes, one of two. I've never watched Apocalypse Now. Oh, dude, you should. I've not because, oh, you're not a real film fan if you haven't. No. Just as a film fan, you owe it to yourself to watch Apocalypse Now. Anyway, I've just pre-ordered the 6-disc 4K Blu-ray set. Nice. A set of the new Final Cut version. Francis Ford Coppola said he made this version cut because it's his favorite. Do you think I should watch the original theatrical cut or extended Redux cut as my first exposure to the film before I watch this final cut? I'd really appreciate and respect your opinion. Okay, so here's the thing, Nick, but you have to understand my starting point of view that when it comes to this stuff. When it comes to movies and director's cuts, recuts, extended cuts, ultimate cuts, yada, 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 yada. When it comes to that stuff, to me, there is one real version of the movie, and that is the original theatrical cut. That is the movie. There are other versions of it. There are spin-offs of it. There are iterations of it. But the true version of the movie, to me, is always the original theatrical cut. That's the movie. All these director cuts, extended cuts, to me, those are what if worlds, those are alternate realities. To me, the movie. Now, that's not to say that you can't have director's cuts and whatever that aren't better than the original. You can, but the movie is the one we all went to go see in theaters, the one that got presented to the public. This is the movie. That, to me, is it. And I think to get and understand the original reaction and why that movie is so beloved by so many people, you need to watch the version that everybody else watched. And that is the original cut, the original theatrical version. Then go on and watch the other cuts and enjoy the other cuts by all means, absolutely. But to me, the movie is the original theatrical released version. That's the way it is to me. And that's the way I would recommend, Nick, that you first approach Apocalypse Now. So you can see it and understand the way everybody else saw it all over the years. Then watch all the other stuff as well, just to get an added appreciation. That's the way I would personally recommend it. Other people may give other advice, and that's totally cool. My way is not necessarily the right way. I'm just saying that's how I would personally approach it. Anyway, good on you, man, for getting that, though. All right. Who Reacts writes, Henry, my 6-year-old, proudly shares his new #1 movie, Gremlins 2. Gremlins 1 not allowed. He hates scary. There you go. First time ever enjoying the thrill of scares and the laughter. That's a great one. Now, obviously, I personally prefer Gremlins 1. I do. And it is scary. I mean, there are some people who would, I don't necessarily fall into this camp, but there are some people who would legitimately say that the original Gremlins is a horror movie. Many would say it is a straight up horror movie. I don't agree with that, but I could see where they're coming from. And I prefer that first one, but it's always great when you can get your kids into some of those classics, man. That's awesome. Who Reacts also writes, Google the Wizard of Oz. Oh, I've done this. Google the Wizard of Oz, click on the red shoes, then click on the tornado. To you guys that, and anyone else who's also did it, how cool is that? It's also basically, Google every once in a while does something really cool where if you look up something, there'll be a little something on the side. And if you click on it, something special happens. They've done that with The Wizard of Oz. And I won't go into what happens, but do that. When you get a chance, Google Wizard of Oz. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see some ruby red slippers. Click on them. Something happens. Then another little thing will come up. A tornado will come up. Click on that and see what. It's just fun. I like these fun little things Google does from time to time. Let's see here. Adam Martinez writes, pre-order Disney Plus and got Joker tickets. It's a good day. Yeah, I got my email yesterday saying pre-order Disney Plus now. Now I'm holding off on it because it's not like supplies run out. I am also holding out until they give me the option to get my package deal, because I do have I have ESPN Plus already, and I have Hulu Plus already. So this new bundled package that they're going to be offering, where you get Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu Plus all wrapped up into one, I need to get me that because I love all three of those. I use ESPN Plus to watch all my UFC stuff. I need to get that. So I'm going to be waiting until I'm able to get that special bundle. Once I can, then I'll be signing up for Disney Plus. Let's see. Esteval Garcia writes, I don't think Avatar 2 will break Endgame's record. I don't think so either. I think it'll do what Episode 9 will do. I think it'll break $1 billion, but not hit $2 billion. Now, then again, the last two films that James Cameron has put out, and neither of them were sequels, they were both original films, both became the #1 box office films of all time. We should not doubt James Cameron. Again, I mean, think about it. It took Marvel 22 tries. Took them 22 times, 22 tries to finally beat James Cameron's movies. James Cameron just put out one original film. Boom! #1 box office film of all time with Titanic. Then he came out with his next film. Again, a completely, just not a sequel, not a remake. Boom! #1 film of all time. You got to respect that. I mean, you got to respect that. Marvel, let's make a movie season #1 film of all time. Nope. Okay, let's do it again. Nope. Okay, let's do it again. Nope. No, let's do it again. Nope. Let's do it again. 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 7 more to go. Let's do it again. 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 And we did it! We're #1! I mean, it's wild when you think of it in those terms. It's wild. Anyway, I don't think it will either. I don't think it'll break Endgame's record either. Let's see. Who Reacts writes, I was backstage at Conan. Really? I was passing guest Tom Hanks and loudly exclaimed, "The Burbs is your best movie, no contest." He smiled big and said, "Great choice." Well, of course, now, if my wife was there, Who Reacts, there would have been a fist fight. Because my wife would have, in all 105 pounds of Filipina fury, she would have swept the leg, gotten full mount, and started elbowing you in the face and said, "You take that back and you say big." So just thank goodness that my wife wasn't there to cause a scene. Yeah, because my wife, it'll get violent. It'll get violent. Them's fighting words in my house. If you suggest any film of Tom Hanks other than Big being the greatest film he's ever done, I've got to just be careful around my house, even suggesting that Big isn't the greatest film of all time. Because when I say something like Big's not the greatest film ever made, I get this look that she gives me. It's like, okay, time for me to back the shit up. Time for me to back up. I gotta be careful. Who Reacts. All right, Jersey Kid writes, showed my daughter all the Star Wars films in order of release. Luckily, she loved them. LOL. Her favorites are Yoda and BB-8, but Chewie scared her. You know what's funny? It's funny you mentioned. First of all, Jersey, that's some good parenting right there. Good job. All right. The other thing that's funny is this: we went to Disneyland recently with a bunch of friends, and I'm gonna see if I can find it here. I'm sure I can. It's got to be here somewhere. Here it is. We went to Disneyland recently with a couple of friends. And some of you might recognize the guy on the end, not me, the other end. The guy on the end, that's Matt. Some of you might remember back in the For Your Consideration days, that was back when it was just me before I did full on AMC and stuff like that. My co-host was my buddy Matt. He was the co-host of the show. See, I'll bring up a bigger picture here. And that with Matt is Jaylyn. She is Anne's longest time friend. They've been friends since literally little childhood. Anyway, so we all went to Disneyland the other night. So Matt, him and Jaylyn have a child. They have a son. A beautiful, beautiful little boy. And his name, not kidding, is Obi, which, yes, they named him after Obi-Wan Kenobi. Again, that's some good parenting right there. My friend Matt is also like a phenomenal artist. Like, we were there at Disney. I hadn't seen him in a while, and they were showing me on the phone some of his new art that he is like, he's stupid talented good. But anyway, Matt and Jaylyn had just brought Obi to Disneyland for the first time a little while before that. And they got to meet Chewbacca. Chewbacca was walking around, and this is where this is all connected here, Jersey Kid. Matt's got this great picture of Obi on his shoulders, and Matt and Obi with Chewbacca, and Matt's face is like, because Matt loves Star Wars and they're coming up with Chewbacca, but his son Obi was like, "Roar," like terrified of Chewbacca. Terrified of Chewbacca. He wasn't having it. Obi was not having it with Chewbacca. So yeah, not tremendously surprised to hear that your son was a little bit scared of Chewbacca. I get that. All right, Who Reacts writes. Where do we go? There he is. It's raining Seinfeld money, streaming rights, Netflix, cable rights, Viacom, Larry David, the victim of circumstance on the phone. Hello, another 300 million? Okay, yeah, Seinfeld has been... And by the way, Netflix needed to make a big deal. Because Netflix was losing Friends, which is one of the most streamed things in the world, is old Friends episodes, going to Aaron's point earlier. And they're losing The Office. One of the most streamed shows in the world. They were losing those too. They had to lock down something big. Seinfeld was a good one for them. That's a good one for them, but they had to pay out the ass to get that. Who Reacts? They had to pay out the ass. All right, Ben Ellman writes, saw Shawshank in theaters yesterday. Great movie. Again, one of the greatest of all time. I love that movie. Just... I could go over every scene in my head. Every scene is absolute gold. Glad you had a chance to see it in theaters, dude. Who Reacts writes, no way to stream The Abyss. What? Said Mad Me. Oh, there is. You totally can. I know for a fact there is. Hold a second. The Abyss streaming. Okay. Right now, there's probably more. But Hulu right now is listing that they have it. Oh, and Cinemax. Yeah, you can watch... Right now, Cinemax has The Abyss, and you can watch Cinemax either through Hulu, you can watch Cinemax through Amazon Prime. It's an add-on, so if you're a Hulu member, you can pay a little bit extra per month to add on Cinemax, and they've got a bunch of things that you can stream and watch, and The Abyss is one of those films. So you can watch it through Hulu, you can watch it through Amazon. Again, you got to get the Cinemax add-on, but it's there. So yes, there is a way for you to watch The Abyss if you want to watch The Abyss. It's there. All right. Ben Ellman writes, opinions on Titan Season 2. I think it's better than Season 1. I have no interest in watching Titan Season 2. I gave Titan Season 1 a chance. I did not enjoy it. I'm not going to be watching Season 2. I gave the season a chance. Didn't work for me. So I'm gonna be taking a pass on Season 2. Unless I get dozens of you guys telling me, John, Season 2 is amazing. If I hear from a ton of you guys that it's absolutely amazing and a must watch, like Doom Patrol, then maybe I will. But yeah, I love Doom Patrol. Did not like Titan Season 1. I don't think I'll be watching Season 2. Nerd Guy writes, loved Ad Astra, but I understand those who find it boring. But I loved all the world building aspect of it. I wanted to be at that time period. See, that's the thing. Just like you, Nerd Guy, like you got no problem with somebody who doesn't like it because of X, X, and X. I'm at the same way. Like, I get it that there are going to be people who like this movie, and I can see why. Again, big stakes, deep questions, universal type questions, personal level questions, all that kind of stuff. World building, like you said. There's a lot of good pieces of the puzzle there that I can understand. Hey, if somebody likes it and watches this movie, I get why. Yeah, I get it. For me, I just didn't like the way they put those pieces together. But that was just for me. And to me, it was very dry. It was very dull. It was very boring. There's ways you can take those pieces of the puzzle and put them together in a better way. At least that was just my take. But I'm like you in the reverse. Like, I didn't like it at all. But I get why there are people who would watch it and really enjoy it. Just like you can watch it and enjoy it, and you can get why people wouldn't find it all that entertaining. So it's one of those films, Nerd Guy, but I'm glad you liked it. All I can say is I wish I had your experience. Because I was looking forward to this movie a great deal. But, you know, it is what it is. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, my friend. All right. Who Reacts writes, Jurassic Park helicopter landing. Dr. Grant can't work his seatbelt. Everyone else, no problem, until he joins two female ends and does it. Life finds a way. I can't remember the scene. I can't remember that scene. Obviously, I've seen Jurassic Park 1,000 times. But one could make the argument, well, yeah, well, he figured it out. I mean, at first, yes, a problem, but then later he figures it out. That's the way life works. Who Reacts? Min Tran writes, Grant Morrison fans, Reddit trolls with DC Universe subscriptions, and the 3 new fans who stuck around after the donkey fart. Min, my brother, I have no idea what you're talking about. Grant Morrison fans, Reddit trolls with DC Universe subscriptions, and the 3 new fans who stuck around after the donkey fart. I don't know what it is we're talking about. Maybe there are probably people in the chat board who totally get what it is you're talking about, but I don't know what it is we're talking about, Min. Sorry about that, brother. All right, Bryce Bradford writes, sad theory for Black Panther 2, but maybe Nakia didn't dust and will have moved on from T'Challa like the end of Castaway. Marvel couples never last. It's true. That's actually, I'll say this. Nobody likes to hear about things Marvel does badly. Everybody gets mad at you when you bring up something Marvel does badly. But one of the things Marvel does badly is how they end their relationships. Because they'll spend an entire movie talking about how this is the romance that will spend space and time. And then very next movie, oh yeah, that relationship ended. What? Really? Jane and I broke up. Okay, the last time I saw you and Jane together, it was like you were the galactic romance, and now it's just gone. Now it's gone. So-and-so, I mean, Marvel does it badly. One of the reasons people say, oh, could they bring in Storm? Well, first of all, you know what a lot of people forget? The Storm-Black Panther relationship didn't actually last all that long in the comics. I mean, we all think of that iconic comic book cover of Black T'Challa on his throne with Storm standing beside him and they were married. Yeah. But a lot of people forget it wasn't actually that long of a thing, right? And when people bring up, maybe Storm coming in for Black Panther, say, well, don't forget he's got the love of his life as Nakia. That's the love of his life. It's Lupita Nyong'o. That's the love of his life. But Marvel is terrible at that stuff. And they go, oh yeah, the love of his life. But now she's gone. Just like that. Now she's gone. But that is one way they could explain it if they wanted to. If they wanted to, they could. But they could find 1,000 different ways to do that. But you're right. Marvel couples never last unless you're Pepper and Tony. Abdul Alans writes, hey guys, can't believe Joker's in 2 weeks. Tickets went on sale today, my friend. Tickets went on sale today. And damn it, how good are those tickets? By the way, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I put this one up on my Twitter as well. See if I can bring this up here for you guys to see. How good is that image? How good is that poster? Oh my God. My buddy Soul sent that to me yesterday, and I just lost my mind. I cannot wait for Joker. Oh, I'm losing my mind waiting for Joker. I am so freaking stoked for that. Okay, let's move on here. Pablo Diablo writes, just woke up from my coma, looking forward to the Black Adam movie, Ben Affleck's Batman film, and Kevin Spacey's next film. Sad that Disney fired James Gunn, but at least we still have Spidey in the MCU. That's a great idea for a YouTube sketch right there. God, I'm not sure I won't steal that. That is a great idea for a YouTube sketch. A guy gets in a car accident, a big movie fan gets into a car accident, wakes up a while later and he says like, man, I can't wait to see that Black Adam movie and Ben Affleck's Batman and Kevin Spacey's next film. And man, I'm so bummed that Disney fired James Gunn. That's some good stuff, Pablo. I like that. That's funny. That would make a great YouTube sketch. I'd watch the hell out of that. All right. Ben Robinson writes, biggest snub was Game of Thrones not winning for directing. I get, but there's so much great direction this year. I mean, hey, it got nominated. It got multiple nominations for best direction, right? So, I mean, but winning is a very, very, very tough thing. So, I don't know. Again, but I didn't watch the show. That's just me. Matt Thornton writes, remember OG Avenger signatures in the credits of Endgame? How cool would it be if that became a tradition at the end of every MCU saga film? Well, first of all, Matt, they stole that. They didn't come up with that. And I'm not even sure Star Trek did, but I remember seeing that in Star Trek. I believe it was at the end of what was supposed to, I think it was Undiscovered Country. I think it was the end of Star Trek Undiscovered Country, which at the time was just kind of assumed to be, this is going to be the final Star Trek film with all the original cast. And they did that in the credits of that movie where the signatures came on of, DeForest Kelley, Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner, James, why am I freezing on Sulu's name? He's the most socially relevant out of everybody now, and I'm freezing on his name. Anyway, and they did their signatures. So they kind of stole that. And it was totally I like that they did it. But it's not their thing. But yeah, if they go through every 10 years, they wrap something up and then they do the signatures, yeah, that could be cool too. But again, it's not their thing. That's a Star Trek thing. And I'm not, maybe they weren't even the first ones to do it, but I think Star Trek was the first ones to do it. I think. Anyway, James Lockman writes, aloha and good morning, John, Robert, and Aaron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know Aaron had a great weekend. Pretty sure Rob said he had a great weekend, and I know I had a great weekend. My Pats won, had our weekly game night. A bunch of our friends came over last night. Saturday was a really good day. It was a good weekend, my friend. Thanks for asking, dude. I hope you had a good weekend as well, James. All right, Blue Rock writes, keep cracking up during Ad Astra because of your hilarious impersonation of quiet dialogue delivery. Despite that, love the movie, gorgeous space scenes, abstract themes. It's a love letter to 70s sci-fi. And I can't disagree with anything you just said, Blue. Can't disagree. Gorgeous visuals. Gorgeous, beautiful visuals. Absolutely deep themes, important questions, all that kind of stuff. To me, again, I like the analogy that those are pieces to the puzzle. And you can have a movie with a lot of good pieces, but it's all about how you put them together. And for some, it was put together well. For me, it wasn't put together well. But we agree it definitely had a lot of good pieces. If anything else, the thing to me, Blue Rock, it almost makes me more disappointed in the movie. Because when I see all the potential the movie had, it just kind of disappoints me even more that they weren't able to put a more satisfying package together. But again, that's just, from my point of view. There are others like yourself that watched this movie and really enjoyed it. And that's great. I wish I had that experience, but I can't disagree with anything you said, dude. That's the neat thing. I can't disagree with anything you said. All right. Fury Friend Fundraiser writes, hello all. I think DC is holding off on Birds of Prey advertising marketing until Joker comes out. Could create confusion, maybe. I don't think it would create confusion. I think the reality is, hold on a second, let me pull this up here. Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey, I believe it comes out in February. I'll look here. Yes, it comes out in February. So September, October, November, December, January, February. The movie's still 5 months away. The movie's still 5 months away. It's almost half a year away still. I don't see them right now as holding off on the advertising and marketing. It's still 5 months away. I honestly think we're only getting into the window where they should start thinking about marketing it. Right? I think we are moving away from the era when they were dropping trailers for movies, like on a regular basis, dropping trailers for movies a year before they would come out. There's no point. There's no point in doing that. I think Godzilla King of the Monsters just proved that. But yeah, I don't really see them as having held off at all. But the one thing I would say, Fury Friend, is that I don't think they're worried about it causing confusion with Joker. But what I do think could be a part of it is that they're trying to keep all the attention on Joker right now. This movie's coming out, keep all the attention on Joker. But again, it's even hard for me to make that argument because this is a movie that's still 5 months away, and I don't feel like I'm looking at my watch going, why haven't we gotten a full Birds of Prey trailer yet? Oh, it's coming out any minute now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, they do want to keep the attention on Joker right now, and rightfully so. Got my tickets this morning. Don't forget to get your tickets, guys. All right, Adam Douglas writes in. So far, Frozen 2 has put out 1 teaser and 2 trailers. None of them has shown any characters singing. This is true. Very interesting choice. Really going for story first. Yeah, because when we think about it, Adam, like, what was the piece of marketing that got everybody in the world on board with Frozen? It was that Let It Go. Disney at the time did something that was pretty unusual. They released a full scene, a full musical number, and they released Let It Go. But it was one of the most brilliant pieces of marketing they had ever done. Because I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Had they not done that, Frozen's not a $1 billion film. It still would have made a lot of money. It still would have been very successful, made a lot of money, all that kind of stuff. But releasing that clip, because they knew that was a big moment kind of clip that was going to create a lot of buzz and a lot of YouTube views. And it did. Actually, I'm just curious. If I went over to YouTube right now, again, I don't know. I'm just going to look this up just out of curiosity. I go over to YouTube right now and I search for Let It Go, Frozen. I'm just going to see what comes up here. Okay, wrap your head around this. All right. Frozen's Let It Go on the Walt Disney Animation Studios YouTube channel North America. That Let It Go song has 671 million views. And if you think that sounds big, they released it at the same time on Disney UK's YouTube channels when they also released it at the same time. Got 1.8 billion views. 1.8 billion views. So if you combined what they released it on their Disney Animation Studios YouTube channel and their Disney UK channel, that is 2.5 billion with a B. 2.5 billion views of that. And that's not even counting all the other ripoffs of people just took that and uploaded it themselves for different reasons and at different times. 2.5 billion views. That is insane. To put that into context, one of the most watched trailers of all time, the Avengers Endgame trailer, right? 128 million views. That's huge. 128 million views. That's huge. That Let It Go thing has been watched 20 times more. 2.8 billion. It was one of the most brilliant pieces of marketing ever. But it does, coming back to your point, Adam, it makes it very interesting that they haven't done any of those yet. Listen, I'll tell you what though, at D23, they brought the four main cast members out on stage and they sang live a big musical number for it. And it was pretty awesome. Now, I don't think Frozen 2 is going to produce the next Let It Go. I don't think we're going to get the next Let It Go song, but I think the music's definitely going to be a strong point. And you're right. That's a very good observation. The fact that they haven't leaned on the music yet, but I think they will. I think before we get to Frozen 2 coming out, I think we will. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Carolina 29593 just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that, man. That's really kind of you, my friend. All right. Epic Dub Time 23 writes, saw Ad Astra yesterday in IMAX and was bored out of my mind. I had high hopes. The visuals were great, but it wasn't enough, unfortunately. Again, all the pieces of the puzzle for me were there. All the good building blocks were there. They put all the good building blocks in there. They just didn't put it together for me in an engaging, entertaining way to convey all of it. And I had the same experience, Epic Dub Time, unfortunately. But there are others who like it, and that's great. But for people like you and me, it didn't work. All right. NR99 writes, I cried when MJ and Prince died. Two of the greatest artists of all time. Did you have a favorite song of either? Well, with Michael Jackson, I mean, you go back to his classics, Billie Jean, Beat It, all the things off the Thriller album and whatever. I actually think my favorite song of his might be Black or White. It was a great music video. But I love Black or White. You can be my baby, it don't matter if you're black or white. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-bum, ba-bum-ba. I really love that might be my favorite song of his, to be honest with you. Prince, When Doves Cry, obviously. I mean, that's my favorite Prince song. It's too bad Rob's not here because Rob is a major Prince fan. Like hardcore major Prince fan. So it'd be interesting to see what he would say to that. But for me, it would be When Doves Cry. All right. The Nerdy Hatter writes, just got time for a couple more here, guys. So we're going to have to wrap it up. Nerdy Hatter writes, finally getting back on my Smallville rewatch halfway through season 5. Love this show so much. I've missed it. You know what's funny, Nerdy Hatter? I've heard from a number of people since they announced that Tom Welling was going to come back for the CW crossover and then Erica Durance, and I think it's just probably a matter of time before Michael Rosenbaum, it gets announced that he's coming back as Lex Luthor. I'm not saying I have any insider information on that. I don't. I'm just thinking it's probably just a matter of time before they announce that. But it's crazy how many people that I know personally, but also that have talked to me on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter and stuff like that, that have said they've started to go back and rewatch Smallville now, kind of getting themselves amped up for their return on the CW Crisis crossover, which I think is pretty cool. All right, D. Try writes, Holstein took a bit of a jump. There's D. Try. D. Try writes, Far From Home has officially made more money than Captain Marvel, and no one is talking about it. Spider-Man Far From Home has made more money than a lot of films. Why would we be talking about that? Anyway, and Avatar 2 isn't going to beat Endgame. I don't think there are many people thinking about it anymore, to be honest. Yes, all I'm saying, and by the way, I agree that that I don't think Avatar is going to beat Endgame. However, nobody's thinking about it anymore. Okay. But nobody was thinking about the first Avatar before it came out either. That's just the way it is. The other thing is, this is a movie that's still 2 years away. They haven't even started thinking about how they're going to get us thinking about it. That movie's still years away. So we can say all that right now, D-Try. And I get it. And I happen to agree with you. I don't think Avatar 2 will beat the Endgame record. I don't think it will. That said, all this stuff about people aren't talking about it now, the movie's 2 years away. It doesn't have as much buzz. Neither did the first Avatar. And just remember, the last two movies James Cameron made, both of them came out and made the #1 box office record of all time. Titanic came out, became the #1 box office film of all time. Avatar came out, became the #1 box office film of all time. I'm just saying, while I agree with you, let's not pretend that it's some kind of massive impossibility. James Cameron's track record is that he squats over and craps out success. The last two times he put out movies, they each became the #1 box office films of all time. And this one's going to be his first sequel. Well, Terminator 2. But anyway. And I don't think it will, but let's not pretend like it's impossible. That's all I'm saying is let's not pretend it's impossible. All right, just two more here. We'll wrap it up here, guys. Brianna writes, I feel like I'm the only one that hated Avatar. You're not the only one. No. I know there are people. I've heard from a lot of them too. I mean, you believe me, you're not the only one. I think it's a tremendously entertaining film. I think it's a wonderful movie. It's Dances with Wolves in space, but it's still wonderful nonetheless. It's great. But you are not the only one by any stretch of the imagination, Brand, so don't worry about that. Uncharted Halo writes, I am 24 years old. My favorite director, James Cameron, has only directed 2 movies in my lifetime. Yeah, that's right. I guess when you think about it, a lot of those other films are a lot older. When you're going back to the Alien franchise, you're going back to True Lies, you're going back to the Terminator stuff. It can go back. It can go back quite a bit. All right. Last one we're taking here. Jorge Miaz writes, Ad Astra reminds me... Oh, you probably means reminds me. Ad Astra reminds me of No Man's Sky video game. I gotta admit, I'm not familiar with that game. Okay, anyway, I'll take this one as the last one then. Valhalla Erickson writes, just binge Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. God, I love that show. It pleases me how the Jim Henson crew can still make puppeteering captivating and scary. It's unbelievable. And by the way, to Valhalla's point, for those of you who have watched Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, number one, if you haven't, why haven't you? Watch it. It's fantastic. But number two, if you have watched it, for those of you who have watched it, absolutely go onto Netflix and look up the little documentary they made about the making of Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. It's fascinating. It goes all to the stuff that you were just talking about here, Valhalla. It speaks to all of that stuff. So absolutely You need to get in there and check it out because it's some pretty fantastic looking stuff. All right, guys, listen, that will wrap it up. We've gone over 2.5 hours here. Click my vid, Coolsome XD, Urman Dogu. Don't worry. We got a companion video coming up this afternoon. In just a couple of hours, it'll be up. I'm going to get to all of your questions that you guys sent in. So keep an eye open for the companion video coming a little bit later this afternoon. Your questions and everybody else who came down after that got sent in are getting answered in a video today. So keep your guys' eyes open for that. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of it. Special thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett, who was here earlier. Of course, the wonderful Erin Cummings. Don't forget, guys, once again, Erin's got her new show. She's not the star of the show, but she's got a recurring role in the show. She's going to be on throughout the series on CBS tonight, called All Rise. Go out and check it out. It was just funny watching football yesterday and seeing Aron pop up on the TV screen as the game was on, which was always great to see. Make sure you guys check that out. Special thanks to them, and a special thank you to all of you guys who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way. And listen, guys, if you are Patreon supporters and members of the Discord server, don't forget, 15 minutes after we finish this show, guys, we are going to be having a John Campea Show post-show chat. I'll be in that chat room in about 15 minutes. For those of you who are already members of the Discord server, you can hop on over there and start the conversation without me. I got a couple of administrative things I got to do once the show's done to get wrapped up, and I'll be over there in about 15 minutes to do the post-show chat with you guys there. Hope to see you in there. All right, guys, that will do it for now. Don't forget to come on back and join us on the John Campea Show tomorrow. If you haven't done so already, click on that subscribe button, become a subscriber to the channel. Guys, help out the channel. If you like these videos and the topics we discuss and the way we do it, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and click that thumbs up on the video, and make sure you guys leave a comment in the comment section below. Always making sure to remember you're talking with fellow film fans, so make sure we treat everybody with respect. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.